Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Empire.
No, I don't know what.
Take
a sleep. Take a sleep. Take a sleep.
Deep dive. We're going to be going through all of the rules from the Empire Grand Roster, so you'll be able to know exactly what you might want to pick up when the Arcane Journal comes out.
Ooh, Empire.
Empire.
Right, how? Actually, 9 Empire.
Nine. So this is, some people would say, what would you say this is? Like, this is, I would say it's a rules review. It's your get started guide. It's a kind of like informal chat about the Empire Army roster. But Val, I think you have a different name for it.
Oh, you're right. I do. It's a deep dive! I can't believe I completely forgot. And I didn't even get to use my submarine sound effect. I'm rusty, Rob. It's been since Halloween, since our vampire accounts that we've done a deep dive. So I'm excited here.
Yeah, a lovely Christmas present. So Empire of Man army list. When I did the army overview, let's get some TLDRs going before we go any further. Arcane Journal, there'll be an accompanying video for that. But Val, Empire, how do you feel about Empire? Having played it a bit, seen it at events, like what are your thoughts and takes about Empire before we get into the nitty-gritty?
Empire is the default human faction, I would say, of the old world. The old world is centered around literally the Empire. That is the bulk of the geographic space known as the old world. So it is the sort of, I'd say, the center of gravity for Warhammer fantasy / the old world. The main characters all come from here. This is it. This is the faction, I think. Awesome. And then, unfortunately, because of that, they become the sort of baseline faction. And as we're going to discover here, they become the most vanilla faction. So we're going to have a really quick trip through their special rules. And a really fast trip through their lores of magic. Yeah. So and also the sort of their baseline units are dudes. They're just dudes. Just dudes. Which is really cool. They have some of the most iconic units in here, like the steam tank. The war altar, warrior priests, flagellants. All of these things that are really evocative, awesome things. As for how they hang together right this second, maybe not tippy top, not even maybe even bottom. Yeah. Of things. To get a list on the table that is something that you won't just get completely run over using, you gotta spitball some weird looking junk together. So it'll be a fun going through these different units, and let's keep our spirits up, Rob.
Don't worry, I'll stay high. I think one of the interesting things about Empire of Man as a roster is that as a lodestone for what everything else is based off, it makes sense that obviously like the narrative drives the rules writing. So like, you've got a human of the Empire and you've got an elf. Well, the elf obviously is better at hitting. The elf is obviously quicker. The elf is like more magical. They're like the elf just is better. And then when you go
a lot more personal savings as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Higher GDP per capita over in all.
Great social care system. Then you go over to like Skaven. And Skaven are like bad, but they're more numerous. They don't hit quite as well. They're maybe not quite, although they are as strong. But they're more numerous. You have more. They have machinations. Orcs are tougher. Like so, the Empire is this kind of bit where everything else is used to differentiate against the Empire. Like the Empire is your baseline, which is cool because humans, and then we can really understand it. And I think that's why it's such a popular faction, because it's really us or human beings being like, that would be me. I would just be like a fella with a sword. That would be me. And also like lots of fantasy is obviously based around, like the fella who starts like with the sword and the shield eventually becomes the king and defeats God or whatever it is. So it's like, it's a good center point. But because of that, they haven't really ever built the architecture of like storytelling and therefore rules writing, which helps them differentiate away from other factions. So like that's always been like a challenge for them.
Yeah, and I think that's a challenge for all regular human factions across Warhammer. Period.
Correct. Yeah.
And so essentially, what you what you've gotten in the past is a focus either on the elite elements of the humans, where
steam
like
tank, artillery.
Artillery, steam tanks, but also just like great swords and demigryph knights and things like that. Or you take you take your human soldier and you buff the hell out of them with magic or special weapons or whatever, so they become super soldiers, and that's how they elevate beyond just being a dude with a sword and a shield. Right now, yeah, we'll see. And then also, I think some of that spiciness, that flavor that gives them, uniqueness that we've seen from Army special rules, because of the baseline, they sort of chose, like, for example, in 8th edition, mechanics like detachments were an Empire mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're a core rulebook mechanic.
Yeah.
Right. So there are a number of things that were sort of core elements of Empire that are now elements of potentially any army. And so that makes it, again, a little bit, vanilla, I think is the way to describe them. But that's not to say that there aren't really cool, useful things in this list, and also some unique things that the Grand Army composition list provides that allows them to really zero in on things that are very, very good in an Old World.
And also, Empire Man Army list also has got a lot of dudes in it, like a lot of foot troops, a lot of infantry. And as we've discussed many times, go watch our show where we talked about the top 5 things we would change. Empire, like, foot dudes aren't really kicking it out there at the moment necessarily. They've got like a fundamental core rule problem. So do I want to build a load of halberdmen, and a load of great swords? You're like, no, probably not. But anyway, so we're going to go through that. So yeah, those are good caveats, I think. But there are loads of super iconic units to bring along. But those super iconic units aren't maybe like, you'd be like, I'm going to play all the humans. You'd be like, thought about a tank instead? Thought about 3 cannons? You're like, I wasn't really thinking that. All right.
Thought about a tank, but only one tank.
Only one.
Which we'll cover. We'll cover.
So we're going to cover the Empire of Man army list. So this is a grand composition list. This is what you could take. So we'll take these one at a time, shall we? So I'll do characters. So for characters, up to 50% of your army's points may be spent on 0 to 1 General of the Empire or Grand Master per 1,000 points. 1 Lector of Sigmar or High Priest of Ulrich per 1,000 points. And then multiple Captains of the Empire, Wizard Lords, and Master Mages, Chapter Masters, Witch Hunters, Priests of Sigmar, Priests of Ulrich, and Empire Engineers. And lastly, up to 1 War Ultra of Sigmar, taken as a mount for a Lector of Sigmar. 40k fans, is very different to a Lictor.
A lictor. Oh man, lictors are cool.
Barely
newer. Rob, so I think, like Orcs and Goblins, these guys have the number one thing that jumps out to me, because it makes a lot of sense. You got your General of the Empire or Grandmaster. Those are your sort of fighty / buffy, combat-y character type things. An Arc Lector or a High Priest of Ulrich. Those are again sort of buffy characters, akin to a Wizard Lord in other situations. However, Wizard Lords literally are in that sort of uncapped section of this army composition list. Of course, with the future constraints coming, which would limit you to 1 level 4 and 1 level 3 in an army list, that'll change. But right now, you can bring as many level 4 wizards as you dang well please.
Yeah, well, the big thing to ask yourself here, or ask all world fans at this section, is there going to be a dragon I can put some dudes on? And the answer is sadly no. So Val's right. There's loads of these things, but things that have percolated out is, can you make the toughest, biggest, baddest character in the world? The answer is no. So already you're going to need to think of other ways to be the problem. Other armies don't necessarily need to take dragons, but to be a problem. But that is a great way to be a problem. High toughness, great saves, multiple saves stacked. That works really well. So already you're not at a disadvantage. I'm not trying to make people feel bad, because you do have a nice counter punch piece in the General of the Empire on a Griffin. That's a great counter punch piece. But you've got lots of support, which is good because your troops need support. But other troops don't need support, and they just go out there and kick ass anyway. So that's kind of it's kind of interesting. It's an army made up of the sum of its parts, but some of its parts only equal just other people's parts. I don't know if that makes sense.
And there, actually, you just hit on something too, which would have, which is good for the overall look of the army, is that it is meant to be a combined arms approach. It's meant to be, like you just said, greater than the sum of its parts, right? Where although you have a bunch of little dudes, you have decent infantry, decent cavalry, all these things, artillery coming together to make a very strong package. That's sort of, I think, the concept of Empire. We'll see if they stick the landing.
Exactly. What's in the core, bud?
Core. We got at least 25% of your army's points value must be spent on 0 to 1 unit of veteran state troops per 1,000 points. State troops, state missile troops, Free Company militia, Empire archers, and Empire knights.
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 Yeah, interesting. Yeah, Empire archers. Shout out to the Empire archers. Love them. They're great.
Oh, very good. Very good. Shout out Empire archers. Also Empire knights as core. Not bad. Not bad.
Knights, not necessarily great anyway, but yeah, not bad for the core choices. It's interesting. Is this an army, would you say, where you build your strength out of the core, or your core is a tax?
Core is a tax. Although Empire archers are super useful, as we'll discover. And Empire Knights, not so bad, but 100% attacks. Hondo P, get your hand out of my pockets, big government. Tax. This is an army where you're figuring out how to land this right at 500 points. You want exactly 500 points of core.
So in special, up to 50% of your army's points may be spent on up to 1 unit of inner circle knights per 1,000 points. Then you can have great swords, pistoliers, outriders, and demigriff knights. Shout out to the demigriffs. And then up to 0 to 3 war machines chosen from the following list per 1,000 points. Great cannons, mortars. So an interesting kind of take here is with the square-based comp being 0 to 3 of something. Then you were capped at only having the 3 great cannons. Do you think that we would have seen a much different kind of old world game had we been like, follow 0 to 3 unless it already has its own stipulation, in which case 6 great cannons, maybe do you think that would put down or at least threaten the dragon meta?
I think you need more than 6 to threaten like the very resilient ones. On average dice. Also, cannons go wrong a lot, right? So like
give up points.
They can blow up, give up points, but they can also just not do anything. They can just misfire. So you definitely need to invest more into your engineers and stuff. But to answer your question, maybe. And also, if we look at the way Games Workshop has run their rule of 3 up until now, and how we assume things will be in the future, it will be that it'll be 0 to 3 special unless otherwise limited. Yeah. So unless they tweak how much they limit, you might see that something like a cannon actually is allowed to exceed what would be a generic cap. So I'm still very curious to see if we in the not too distant future we see a modified Grand Army composition lists that sort of adjust these caps and restrictions. We'll see.
Also, shout out to the Great Cannon being significantly better than the Dwarven Cannon as well. Higher strength and better damage output. Very, very scary. Demigriff Knights. I thought we'd see loads of those. Maybe their unavailability was a reason we didn't see as many.
Yeah, I think they're out there. I think they're definitely out there. Shout out to Sparksy, a Canadian very good Warhammer player who at Capital City Bloodbath ran essentially, if I recall correctly, it was basically Demigriff Knights, a steam tank, and then cannons, and then a couple cannons. And he did very well. I think he podiumed with that list. But you're right. We don't see Demigriffs necessarily as much as you might think, considering how absolutely rad they are. So yeah.
Okay, interesting. And then anything else to say from the units that we're seeing in special?
I think no. As we get through the unit entries, we can talk about the pluses and minuses on them. But great cannon. Yeah, it's a great cannon, but it's no bombard.
It's no bombard.
It's no bombard. Absolutely not.
Yeah. And then how do we feel about rare?
Oh yeah, 25% of your army's points value may be spent on flagellants, which is how I like to say it. I've also heard flagellants. How would you say flagellants, Rob?
Flagellants.
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 Flagellantes.
Flagellants. 0 to 1 War Machine chosen from the following list per 1,000 points. We have the one, the only, the War Machine of your dreams. Got it. It's a nightmare and a dream all in one. The Hellblaster Volley Gun, one of my favorite units of all times, followed by the always sad and disappointing Hellstrom Rocket Battery.
Which is a real shame for Total War fans, because in Total War, that thing ruins lives.
So, and also, just one of the coolest things that can happen in Total War is the Hellstrom going off. It's crazy. It's just go watch a YouTube video of it. It's fun. And they completely don't do that with it. And there's something called, what is it? In Imperial Guard, there's the one tank with just
the Death Strike missile.
The Death Strike missile. Take that idea and put it in fantasy. Like, just make it a one-use only nuke. Like, that would be super sick. And then we've got 0 to 1 steam tank per 1,000 points. The Venerable and very good steam tank. But you're going to notice that we have at least 2 expensive per model things trying to get into that 25% of rare between the steam tank and the Hellblaster Volley Gun. And the Hellblaster is actually, from a points perspective of the overall list, very expensive, because you need engineers to support it to really juice it up.
And then Mercenaries, 20% of the army. BSB is going to be a captain of the Empire to be your BSB. So that takes us through the army list. So also, like, one of the things I'm looking at here is actually pretty light on the army list, really. There's not necessarily a dearth, like, there's not like a wide spread of units, especially, like, what do we have? I mean, Dwarfs have got a lot of units, really, considering it's all just dudes on foot. Chaos obviously have a ton of different units, especially when you jump between that toughness 3, toughness 4 chassis of like a Chaos Warrior versus like a Marauder. So you end up with like a lot of stuff. Chariots, no chariots really, apart from, I've got a War Wagon up with the War Altar and stuff. Like, I mean, the steam tank, yes, but there's no like those smaller builds. So yeah, it's quite a tight roster for what is quite like a multitudinous faction in the lore. So definitely something that could be expanded out in the future, I definitely believe, which would be cool to see. Right, let's go look at some army special rules.
So as mentioned, no actual army special rules, but we could look at some artifacts. You want to look at some artifacts?
Absolutely. I absolutely want to do look at some artifacts. And the reason there are no army special rules is, as Val pointed out, one of the things that's missing, or one of the things they used to do, was they had like regiments and detachments. And they still have regiments and detachments, but that's a core rule now. So, they don't have, Gromril weapons. They don't have ensorcelled weapons. They don't have any of these Chaos Armor is such a game changer, really. Being able to have a wizard that can have an armor save and a ward save built in to their points. And
be a Chaos Warrior.
And be a Chaos Warrior. Like, there's some significant upgrades that, like, aren't tacked on to what Empire are. That are missing, which is a little bit sad. But I do think, what do you think about this statement? Because I do wonder how you feel. I think that Empire is easily the army you can tack the most rules onto thematically. Like, you could add a ton of stuff. Like, these guys from this region are far more burly, toughness 4. Sort of a thing. Like this area, they craft the finer weapons. You got some like good full plate armor on some dudes or something. You could do some cool stuff.
I mean, yes, absolutely. And they've already hinted, and we'll find out once we get our greasy mitts on that arcane journal. We know that it's not an artillery army of infamy. It's a Nuln army of infamy. So we'll see. Maybe that is exactly why. You don't see a lot of these special rules or unique flavors in the Grand Army, because it's going to be the armies of infamy that expand out on the regions of the Empire, the different states and cities that make that up, to give them exactly what you just said, like that, those unique pluses and minuses. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, so what we got going on? We got Empire Man magic items. So we've got magic weapons. We've got the Rune Fang.
Rune Fang.
Rune Fang. We'll do one each, shall we? So
right.
it's a melee weapon, and it's the same strength as the user, but it is AP2 with magical attacks and strike first. And when making a roll to wound for a hit caused by the Rune Fang, a roll of a 2 is always a success, regardless of the target's toughness.
Yeah, for 100 points, it used to just kill people, and it was 100 points. I feel like the Rune Fang's been a little nerfed. I'm not sure. Have you seen it being used on those sort of Counter-Strike?
No.
Because the Rune Fang was the same thing before. It used to take up the entire magic allocation because it was 100 points, but it was so good that people still used it a lot. And Rune Fangs, by the way, very, very important weapon
narratively.
In the lore. Given to all of the elector counts or what have you. So, yeah, I think probably a little bit stiff, especially since, you don't get multiple damage here. Whatever your strength is, but I guess it doesn't matter because it rules on a wounds on a 2+, -2. Strike first is pretty dope. I don't know. Would you use a Rune Fang?
No, I wouldn't take a Rune Fang because I don't have enough attacks. That's the problem. Like the chassis that I would be attaching it to just doesn't have enough attacks. I still have to roll to hit. What am I going to have? 3 or 4 attacks max? I'm just not killing something, and when I get hit back, I'm getting slapped.
Got it.
So I wouldn't take it. Should we do the next thing?
I was going to say, this could be a pretty gnarly doppelganger weapon, but you can't pair it with something to guarantee that you get that spell. So, by the way, Lore of Illusion, 2d6 hits with whatever weapon you're carrying on that wizard. It can be real gnarly, but probably better paired with a giant blade. Okay, Mace of Hellstrom.
Ooh.
This is another chestnut magic weapon from the annals of Empire history. It's got 2 attack modes. We've got a single-handed mode, which is strength user and magical attacks. And then we got double-handed mode, strength 10, AP -5.
Wow.
Magical attacks, multiple wounds D6, requires 2 hands, but let's see what the notes say. The Mace of Hellstrom has 2 profiles. You must choose which the wielder will use at the start of each round of a combat. If used double-handed, the wielder may make only 1 attack, regardless of their attack characteristic.
Why? Just let me have 3 attacks. Like, just... Do you know what, though? I still would potentially take the Mace of Hellstrom.
If I'm re-rolling my hits... somehow,
yeah.
If I got a hatred somehow, if I've got something that's getting me a high probability of making that hit because it's wounded on a 2, it's AP -5. D6 multiple. I mean, it's not bad, but it is 65 points.
Because I've got an army that can soften up a large target, but going in with the one shot, like the M&M sweaty hands, I don't want to be a mom's spaghetti on this and just miss and then do nothing. Right, I need it to work. So, but it's still fun. Like, listen, I've been talking about this a lot in some of the other game systems. I want stuff that makes me engaged and I enjoy, and this makes me do something super cool, even if it's swingy. So I'm into that. So I'm giving that a 10 out of 10 because it's got a great concept to it at least.
And I would also say that as far as my dumb square-based format idea of everyone has to take their most expensive magic weapon, I'd be willing to make a Mace of Hellstrom exception here because it's definitely more fun than the Rune Fang at face value. I'd love to see some AP on the single-handed mode. That feels a bit mean to have 0 AP if you don't swing your... Because this is basically... essentially, this is just a single weapon, which you hit once.
For 65 points.
For 65 points, yeah.
Yeah. Next one, the Sword of Justice, 50 points. It's the same strength as user. It's got AP 1. It's got Armor Bane 1. Magical attacks. It does multiple wounds too. So this feels very much more reasonable, actually, as a weapon. And the wielder of the Sword of Justice may re-roll any failed wound rolls as well. This is probably a much more sensible choice. It's at 15 points cheaper. You do have a pip of AP with some Armor Bane as well. You got multiple wounds too, so you could
re-rolling wounds.
Re-rolling wounds. That's pretty nice. That's not bad.
So even if you're low strength, re-rolling wounds is great, and because you're low strength, you're probably re-rolling a bunch of those, and that gives you 2 shots at armor bane.
Yeah.
So this one not bad. 50 points, I'd say, super not bad. Worth a consider. The re-rolling of wounds here really does, I think, help out with that lack of a strength juicer.
Next time.
Dragon Bow, we got Dragon Bow, 36 inches, strength 6, AP -2, magical attacks, multiple wounds 2, commanders of the Empire only. This is probably the most taken magical weapon here. It's dope as hell. I love this thing. No notes.
This is where I would like turn up to the SDS studio with like a tray of coffees, maybe some cupcakes, some donuts. I'd walk them in. I'd be like, boys, it's time for the meeting. I'd sit them down. I'd get the whiteboard out, and I'd be like, hey guys, let me explain range projection to you. Let me explain how power projection works in game systems. And they'll be like, interesting. What do you mean? I'm like, well, you've made an item that's 25 points that you can do from really far away without ever being hit back. That's just good. 6. That's probably actually better, just stat wise, than your 50-point item, which is a much more difficult to deliver system. And they'll be like, interesting. Should we make it 15 points? I'm like, no, you're missing.
but your commander wants to be on the front line. He wants to be on the front line. He's got to hold the line. So you're only going to use it once or twice.
Yeah, obviously this is an exceptionally good item, which I think if this is a 25-point army item in every army, this would be taken in every army.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great weapon, and it's also, I dare say, fun. Also, because it's only one shot, adds a little bit of little shit for going to punk those characters who may be strayed a little bit away from their protecting units, etc. You can put it on a really mobile character. It's great. I really like the Dragon Bow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to. It's so good. It's so good.
It is very good, yes.
Right, so we go to magic armor. We got the Armor of Fortune, which is 45 points. It's a suit of heavy armor, which is going to give you a 5-up save. In addition, it's wearer has a 6-up ward save against any wounds suffered and is immune to killing blow, which is a special type of attack that can come in, which will just immediately slay you. If the wearer is struck by a killing blow, they're permitted armor and regen saves as normal. If the wound is unsaved, they lose a single wound. This is really nice and something you would absolutely want to put on like a large chassis, so like a dragon. But you've got the griffin, so you can kind of protect yourself in that way. Because normally, well, not normally, but some people's way of dealing with the dragon is to have killing blow.
Monster killing blow.
Monster killing blow. Sorry, yeah. So monster killing blow is still going to work here.
Yes, as is cleaving blow.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
So
okay, that sucks.
But you are highlighting But I mean, you don't necessarily have to be on the monster griffin. You can also be on the Pegasus, and that would protect you big time.
Yeah.
I just don't know if killing blow is really out there that much. Maybe I'm wrong, but you run into it against Tomb Kings a lot. I don't know if it's, this is a good thing to have back pocket for maybe one day something comes along that like, oh shit, it's got killing blow and it's everywhere. But 45 points for that rule seems decent. But the best way to protect yourself against killing blow, hop on a chariot.
Or don't be there.
That's also very exceptional point. The Armor of Tarnus is a suit of light armor which may be purchased and worn by an Imperial wizard, even if they do not have the option to be equipped with armor, which they always do for some reason. Oh, no, not necessarily. Sorry, never mind. A shield or barding without penalty. In addition, the wearer has a 5+ ward save against any wounds suffered. Hey. That's cool. I've never noticed this. Full disclosure, never noticed this. That's great. That's a second, essentially that's a second talisman of protection.
Yeah, that you could have in your army, especially if you're running multiple wizards.
Yeah. Never noticed that. I think it's 5 points more, but that covers off your light armor, I guess, on a character. So yeah, that's a great little thing that I've completely scanned past every single time.
Perfect.
Is there something we're missing here? I'm going to slide how much can be purchased more of my Imperial Wizard. You equip an armor, shield, or barding without penalty. In addition, it's whereas 5+ ward save against any wound suffered.
It's just a 5-up ward save.
Just a 5-up ward save. Great.
Very cool.
Good. All right.
Talismans. White Cloaks, 30 points. The armor of the White Cloak has a 5-up ward save against any wounds suffered and a 3-up ward save against any wounds suffered that were caused by attack that have the flaming attack special rule. Specifically very good right now in the game because of a cheeky set of fellows called Iron Drakes.
Iron Drakes, yes.
Which are everywhere. Dwarfs are very popular, and there are lots of Iron Drakes, and they have that good old flaming shooting attack. I'm pretty certain all of the attacks that Iron Drakes have are flaming.
That feels right, because they are like flamethrowers, I think. Also, like, just randomly flaming attacks are around. Also, Fireball, which is a great way of dealing with a solo character, right? Just pumping them full of fireballs. So just randomly having a nice ward save is great there. And then, again, it's a 30-point ward save. That also gives you a little bit of extra juice. So now we're up to 3 different talisman of protection in this army, which is pretty damn dope, in my humble opinion.
It's a good opinion. Next item.
Jade Amulet. The bearer is immune to the killing blow special rule. If the bearer is struck by a killing blow, they are permitted armor and regeneration saves as normal. If the wound is unsaved, they lose a single wound.
As we discussed before. Yeah, with the other item.
So for 15 more points, for 20 more points with the other one, you get heavy armor and a 6-up ward save. So there you go.
Yeah. So then next up, we got the Imperial. So we got the magic standards. Okay. So our big ones, which sometimes change the shape of how armies work. The Imperial Banner is 60 points. All friendly units within command range of the model carrying the Imperial Banner roll 3d6 when making fear, panic, or terror test and discard the highest result. This means on average, you should be getting an average on 2d6 is 7. 3d6 drop the lowest is a 9. So the other way, 3d6 drop the highest gives you a 5. Right? So that's what you should. Great. So that's what you should be getting. So that means you should be passing a lot of those tests, which is pretty nice. Yes. And not a bad item, but are you having loads of blocks of infantry that you care to take this item for, or even lots of units that you take this item for? Maybe. I'm pretty sure if you're a playtester or the designer of these rules, yes, you have lots of those, and this is the best item ever. I would say, one threat that we haven't seen a lot yet, but like the terror bombing idea of just like declaring a charge with a unit. I think it's too inefficient. I think that was the issue.
But because your leadership isn't crazy in Empire, and like your ability to access even high leadership generals is pretty restricted. I'm pretty sure the captain, for example, is leadership 8. It might be leadership 9 on the general, but either way, odds are you're capped at leadership 8. So like the threat of panicking and running away is there. So this does really help steady the loins.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or the loins.
Or the loins. Yeah. Yeah, this is okay. Also, like fear, panic, and terror, obviously with a lot of undead out there in the world, Vampire Counts, Tomb Kings, ignoring those phases most of the time. All of that stuff means that like that portion of the game kind of became like a non situation.
Yes. Yes. Unfortunately, it has no impact on combat, which is too bad. But anyway, Griffin Standard. When determining your combat result, a unit carrying the Griffin Standard can claim a rank bonus of +2 for each extra rank behind the first, rather than the usual +1. Seems like it would be really good. And I know people do try to key off of the Griffin Standard to create sort of those combat res bricks. We'll get into why that does or doesn't work probably later. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, same thing. Like, it's cool. Can I do other stuff with it? Like, obviously, I could take the War Banner as well, and then add on to that. Like, can I build these bricks? Maybe. Like, is there a character that can fight off the dragon as I'm trying to do this? Yes or no? Yeah, like those sorts of things. So the answer is not really. Gleaming Pennant is 50 points, single use. A unit carrying the pennant may reroll a single failed leadership test. No, thank you.
15 points though, like as maybe there's an elite unit where you can take a magical standard for 15 points to reroll a leadership check. Maybe.
Am I taking? Can I build an elite unit? I guess maybe the Griffins, maybe like demigriffs.
Yeah, maybe, or something that's testing like their leadership that can take a standard. Let's keep an eye out. Maybe there is something that wouldn't be complete waste of life for.
Okay, last banner.
Last banner, the banner of duty. A unit carrying the banner of duty may reroll any failed rally test.
Yeah, so both the Gleaming Pennant and the Banner of Duty are like items that you take in case things go wrong. As a situation, whereas some of the other banners that we see for other armies we make your army better, especially economies of scale make your army better. Like we make many units better around us versus sometimes you might be losing and we can help you out a little bit. Not bad, but it's predicated on the idea that you're losing.
Gleaming Pennant though, just immediately something that popped in my head is like we'll see with the Priests of Sigmar and Ulrich. They do leadership tests to cast their shit.
That's true.
So that might, in a critical situation, give you a reroll because there's no like undead band like BSB where you just get to reroll all leadership checks. We also, because of the FAQ, know that if your unit is veteran but the character isn't veteran, they don't get to reroll. So this is just maybe a 15 point. I really need this prayer to go right now. Maybe that's something useful for it.
Yeah, that's true. All right, enchanted items. We've got the Laurels of Victory. When determining your combat result, each unsaved wound caused by an attack made the bearer of the Laurels of Victory is worth 2 combat result points rather than the usual 1.
Huh.
So
interesting.
If you took that multiple damage 2 weapon, you pinged it big, you could have quite a lot of combat resolution from here. And if you were trying to take the banner that gives you +1 and bring the war banner in for some more pluses, there's the potential that you could build up a lot of static combat resolution, which is where 2 units fight and then you get more points than your opponent in that combat to be able to determine who wins. Yeah, Laurels of Victory is pretty interesting, but I don't. 40 points, I probably won't take it.
I'm just thinking, and again, it fully depends on the character build, but like in a situation where you can protect this guy from challenges and say this guy is swinging on sort of more the rank and file rather than, the beat stick or something really durable, this would allow you to really rack it up because it's not going to be limited by overkill like you would be in a challenge, right? Mm. So, if you have 4 attacks and you can get 4 kills, that's 8 combat res. That's a big deal.
Agreed. Next time.
The Silver Horn. This one's very, very popular. Characters with the Swift Stride special rule only. The bearer of the Silver Horn and any unit they have joined may reroll the D6 when using the Swift Stride special rule.
Very good.
This one's shouted out. By the way, this is a wrinkle in the rules that is currently a bit confusing, but this one calls out characters with the Swift Stride special rule. So you can't put the Silver Horn, for example, on the champion, as often you might want to do, to save space on like the beat stick that you have, because champions are not characters.
That's true. That is true. The next item is the Shroud of Iron, which is 10 points. The bearer of the Shroud of Iron and any unit they have joined has a 6 ward save against any wounds suffered that were caused by a non-magical template. We call that in the business a double stippy. So it has to be a template weapon. A dub stip has to be a template. And it has to be a non-magical template. And so maybe in the future, the most fearsome thing that you can constantly face is a bunch of non-magical templates. And when that happens, this item will shine. But right now, it's just some iron that you don't need.
I was going to say, but as we all know, iron is not shiny. And this might be the worst item in the game.
Well, it could be 20 points. So,
well, even at like...
free. Even if it was free.
Hit us in the comments. Is the Shroud of Iron the most useless item in the game? Because you're like all of those stipulations, non-magical template, What do you get for that? 3 up ward save? No, 6 up ward save. Who would even? Yeah. All right. Arcane items. This is a banger section for Empire, by the way. Oh yeah, I guess it's my turn. Book of Asher, 85 friggin' points.
Loads of points.
What are we doing with that? The bearer of the Book of Asher increases their dispel range by 3 inches, and unless they roll any natural double, may apply a +1 modifier to any of their casting or dispel rolls. However, if the bearer rolls any natural double when making a casting or dispel roll, the book has proven to be a poor reproduction full of glaring errors, and the +1 modifier cannot be applied to that roll. Hey, not bad.
But only that roll, not all rolls in the future.
Yeah. Okay, and you don't take a wound. It doesn't like bite your hand or something.
Nope.
Okay. Now this is a lot of points for what is often kind of in the 40-point range. That +1 on, but it's usually casting or dispel. This is both. Also adds that 3-inch range. I know, for example, Orcs and Goblins is +1 to cast, +3 inches. And you can actually it's not +1 to cast. It's just +3 inches and re-roll.
Yeah.
And that's like in the 40 points, 45-point range. So yeah.
+1 to dispel and dispelling additional range is really important, actually. Because it means like you've got a lot, like your opponent has to stay a little bit further away if they want to apply their buffs, like if they want to start doing missiles and stuff as well. Like it's really good, I would say. I'd say 85 points is a really expensive tax, but it does mean your wizard is so much more effective. That +1 to cast is really good. +1 to dispel, because this is on a level 4. This is over multiple casts and multiple dispels. Like this is a lot of additional bonus, like over the course of like a battle.
It just feels like it's about double the cost it should be.
Maybe it's very good. Like it's just like 50
it is
points.
Very good.
It's 50 points in chaos to have an item. 65 points in chaos to have an item that can give +1 to cast to units within 3. Like, and then the only other way to get +1 to cast is like have some dudes in a brick of other dudes.
But how much is the puppet, which is way more effective at shutting down magic?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely one of the unique items that like showcases Chaos's power. I think it's 50 points, maybe it's 50 or 65 points, all the two.
So I think you're paying here because you're getting the double bonus, right? Like you're paying for the +1 on casting and dispel, but you also get that. Like even if it was extra 3 inches on cast and dispel and +1 on cast and dispel, then that's starting to make sense because it's 2 items in one. I also really love that there isn't essentially a downside here. I don't know. I think it's just too many points, but it's very good.
Definitely,
it does a very good, very important thing.
So then, next one is me. A Wizard's Familiar is 35 points, and it is a very common magic item. 0 to 1 per wizard. The owner of the Wizard Familiar may apply a +1 modifier to their dispel rolls, and it's only going to cost you 35 points. Note, if the modifier the result is of a roll, it does not negate a roll of a natural double 1. So yes, so you can have +1 to your dispels for only 35 points.
Like that is very good because you don't often see buffs to dispel. Like it's not like you much more often see buffs to casting. So a buff to dispel for 35 points, I think personally that's very good, and that's probably the best part of the Book of Asher.
Yeah. Yes, the extended range and the +1 to dispel, I agree. It's whether or not you want like the +3. What you really ask yourself is do you want +1 to cast and also +3 range to cast for an additional 50 points? Interesting question. And then the wizards. Oh, next one's yours. Sorry, wizard staff.
Yep, wizard staff, 20 points. Bearer the wizard staff gains a +1 modifier to their casting roll when attempting to cast an assailment spell or a magic missile. That magic missile one is really good when you have the battle wizard gunboats that I was running. It's quite useful. Also important to remember that it's only for assailment spells or magic missiles, because I'm sure I cheated. God, I'm the worst. I am the worst. I don't know how I don't have a reputation. All right, so Book of Asher versus. So basically, what we're seeing here. 20, although no, because it's only magic missiles and assailments, so it's not an exact comparison. No. I don't know. Very good though.
Yeah, if you're going to take a bunch of battle magic and try to get a bunch of fireballs, +1 to cast, not a bad shout, to be honest. Book of Ashes still feels pretty nice. Now, there are some special weapons of the Empire, so that's it for magic items, so we can start looking at units. But there are weapons of the Empire which will come up. There's grenade-launching blunderbusses, Hawklon long rifles, pigeon bombs, which pigeon bombs are obviously the absolute go, like the best unit, the best weapon they have for fun, but not necessarily in game.
I think I remember looking at the results of this. Let me just see here.
Should we go through the pigeon bomb? Instead of shooting normally during the shooting phase, a model equipped with a pigeon bomb may release one. Choose an enemy unit that's within 24 inches of the model and roll on the pigeon bomb table. On a 1, you get bird-brained, and confused by the tumult of battle, the pigeon returns to its handler, and you center a small 3-inch blast template over the model that released the pigeon bomb, and any model whose baseline's under it risks being hit, which is a 4-up, with a strength 4 hit and AP of 1. So already there's a chance that you're going to just hit your own guys.
Roughly 20% of the time, yes. Huh? Roughly 20% of the time.
Yeah.
18% of the time you're going to roll a 1, right?
And they got fly away home, perhaps wisely. The pigeon sets off towards the distant horizon and the bomb does not work. So now already 50% of the time, nothing's working. 4 to 5 is a dud. The pigeon drops his package over its target, but the bomb fails to detonate instead of falling earthwards. The target unit suffers a single strength 5 hit with an AP of 2. So pretty tragic. But on a 6...
Well, 6?
Yeah, okay. All right. No, I see what you're saying. Strength 5 hit AP2. That's okay. Yeah. The pigeon delivers its package, places a small 3-inch blast template so that its central hole is directly over the center of the target unit. Any model whose base lies underneath the template risks being hit and suffering a strength 4 hit with AP of 1.
Yeah.
All that work for just a kind of okay stone thrower.
Kind of okay stone thrower. So, like, even if this was just like the way Vortex is, like, even if it was like a D3 +2 or something, that would be way better. But yeah, pigeon bombs.
Pigeon bombs, baby.
I can see why people would love to take those regardless of anything because it's just hilarious. I do want to shout out, if I could, very quickly, the grenade launching blunderbuss, actually, and Hawk Long Rifle, both pretty good.
Both very good.
So grenade launching blunderbuss, 24-inch range, which is the same as Outriders and their repeater rifles. Strength 4, -2 AP, cumbersome and ponderous, which is which ain't great, but oh well. If the roll to hit is successful, grenade launching blunderbuss causes D3 +1 hits to the target enemy unit rather than the usual 1 hit. So it's an all or nothing roll and gets you a pretty good stat line if you connect. Strength 4, AP2 at 24 inches, pretty great.
Yeah, it's a great profile. Like it's a great, and the Hawk Long Rifle is 36 inches, strength 4, AP1, armor bane 1, cumbersome and ponderous. But a model armed with a Hawk Long Rifle can target a specific model within its target unit, such as a champion or a character.
Which is pretty cool for punking those annoying champions. However, also on the flip side, this doesn't really give you a sniper ability. So, like, you can't target a character that's standing next to a unit with a champion or a standard. You could target, I assume, a character in a unit.
Yeah.
Because you can, but you can't. Like, it doesn't override sort of characters hiding. But yeah, I think great for punking. Also, people often will put. Oh no, the standard barrier just comes back. So it's really for killing champions. So if champions are a problem, you can go kill them.
Yeah, or a wizard. Like sometimes wizards are buried inside little units.
Sure.
Here or there, definitely. But the problem is you're going to need to land a couple to kill a character that you need out. But I think, I think that's an issue. And yes, they do still get lookout sir as well. So something to be conscious of.
Indeed.
So that's not going to be good. So that's kind of all of the elements around the army. So that gives us some good context now to start looking at our different units.
Yes, sir.
So the first unit we're going to look at, obviously, is your kind of like non-magical foot hero, Commander of the Empire. And quite nicely, the General of the Empire is toughness 4, 3 wounds, 3 attacks in close combat, weapon skill 5. It's only going to cost you cheapest ships 90 points. Starts out with hand weapon and light armor. Can be upgraded to have a variety, pretty much every weapon available. Got loads, great weapon, halberd, lance, handgun, longbow. Can take pistols, brace of pistols, can have a shield, and can go up to all the way up to having full plate armor. And it's only going to cost you 6 more points. So obviously that's great. And it can be mounted. And we'll go talk about those in a minute. And can take up to 100 points of items. And then it has got your classics, rallying cry. And there's only got one special rule, hold the line. This character and any unit they have joined automatically pass any panic tests they are required to make. The good old and then general, and then we've also got the captain of the Empire as well, who's got like not too bad a stat line really, 2 attacks, but strength and toughness 4 is nice, 45 points.
Yeah, I think you're probably going to see captain more because I mean he is your BSB. Although general Empire just brass tacks get you that leadership 9, and that I think we will find is. I guess you got it in the Grandmaster too. But anyway, yeah, I think this is a very useful unit depending on how you build it out and what you need it to support with. And also the mounts really do spice up what he's capable of achieving too.
Yes, absolutely. So we'll just go look at the mounts.
Also weapons, BS5 on both the general and the captain. Great pairing for...
Hochland Long Rifle.
The Dragon Bow.
You're not thinking the way I'm thinking. Just loads of them with Hochland long rifles, just hammering people at range. Anyway, character mounts. So a general of the Empire and a captain of the Empire may be mounted on a Barded Warhorse, Empire Warhorse, Pegasus, Demigryph, Griffin, or an Imperial Eagle. So let's take a look at these. Pegasus.
Imperial Eagle?
Imperial Eagle. It does say Imperial Eagle, yeah. Imperial Griffin. Sorry, Imperial Griffin.
Oh, sorry. I thought there was a new thing.
No, that was me. That's me not reading right.
All good.
So Pegasus. Pegasus is cool because it's monstrous cav. It's got +1 wound to your characters. You're going to have like 4, which is nice. It's nice and fast because it's got fly 10 with swift stride. It's also got counter charge and first charge, and it's only 30 points.
Yeah. Pegasus is great. Pegasus is great.
Why aren't there a bunch of like Empire captain? Can an Empire captain go on a Pegasus? Or am I making that up? Captain Empire.
It's like the all-time most like clutch build out is the Capacis, like the BSB on the Pegasus.
I'm not even talking about the BSB. What about just like 3 times 1? Just like
right.
Like they're pretty good little units. What we talking points wise? That's not a lot of points for just the regular fella. Where is he? What is he? 45 points? 75 points? Give him some full plate. Like
you got a stew going.
You got a guy just going around doing some stuff,
flapping around, being annoying. Also, great mount for a wizard. Because it makes them super maneuverable. They're monstrous cavalry, not a monster. So that also means they can go 360. They can see 360 and they can charge 360. So yeah, lots of good reasons. The Pegasus is, I think, an outstanding mount for sure.
Okay. So then we got the Demigryph, and this is 50 points, but this is going to give you +1 wound, to give you a very fighty sort of mount. Cause it's got 3 attacks, strength 5, AP 2, it's got counter charge, it moves 7, so it's good. First charge, fierce, swift stride. If you want to put a character inside a unit of Demigryphs, feels like 50 points is nice for this loadout, I'd say. Or
just not even inside a unit of Demigryphs, right? Like this is a good mount for the chapter masters and the grandmasters to just be a freelance beat stick. I think that's as close as you get to it. Because I mean those 3 attacks, weapon skill 4, with the AP 2 Wicked Claws, pretty dang good.
Yeah.
No stomps though for Demigryphs these days. Swamp womp.
I don't think they need it. And then let me just go find the other mounts because they're located not necessarily the best, not necessarily laid out the best. Still, I'm going to go. Where are they? I'll find them.
Just before the artillery.
Yeah, that makes sense, obviously. But after units, of course. Come on. So Griffins, you got 2. You got Griffin, Imperial Griffin, 130 points, 160 points. You get +1 wound for the... you get +4 wounds for the better Griffin, +3 wounds. And apart from that, you get +1 toughness. So you can go up to toughness 5, which is a bit of a shame. Some of the other guys get up to toughness 6. And then you've got Fly 9. You've got some Stomps. You've got some Terror. You've got Swift Strides. It's a fast, fighty base to put someone on top of. It's definitely going to do more output, I would say. Or it feels like it's going to do more output than whoever's riding it. Right? That's the point of the Griffin. And isn't that expensive? 160 points.
4 attacks. Weapon skill 5, also pretty dope.
Strength 6.
Often you see a weapon skill 4, so it makes it a little bit better than the Wyvern at strength 6. The Imperial Griffin also is a behemoth. So how many stomps do they get?
It's D3 for the Griffin, D3 plus 1 for the Imperial Griffin.
So that Imperial Griffin's getting you D3 plus 1 stomps. That ain't nothing. That ain't nothing. So Stride Terror, 2 heads. And then the Imperial Griffin also gets the 2 heads, so they also add that breath attack. So for that 30 points, you are getting a ton upgrading to the Imperial Griffin. I didn't quite realize that.
Yeah, you're getting quite a few bonuses. You can also increase the Imperial Griffin by adding 20 points and giving it 2 heads. 2 heads, which is cool. And then, so like I think the real question when building out an Empire character is you can obviously with the mounts, especially you can go cheaper and you give yourself a lot of utility with the Pegasus, and then you can build yourself a fighty character on a fighty mount. It's just not as fighty as dragons, effectively. So that's like where maybe it falls down. How do you feel about
that? I think that this is the first time I've ever, because I know that some people have brought the Imperial Griffin character as sort of that backline, sort of that line, that counterpunch, that linebacker. And I kind of went, whatever. However, not going to lie, for 180 points to get the 2 heads, that also juices your attacks. So that gets you up to 5 attacks on this profile. And then an Imperial Griffin with 2 heads gains a +1 modifier to its attacks characteristics. So 20 points alone, that's not so bad for how much you pay for an extra attack usually. In combat, this model makes one of its attacks each turn with this weapon. If this model has 2 heads, it must make 2 of its attacks. So that means that up to 2 of the attacks can be the Serrated Maw, which is Armor Bane 2, Multiple Wounds 2. Although you lose your standard AP for the chance at more than one wound going through. Maybe not great, but even still. That gets you up to 5 AP2 attacks for 180 points. I don't know. That's not bad. It's not bad, man.
No, it's not bad. It's not bad. You can definitely see why some people run around with this, especially as like a counterpunch piece. Definitely. And even also, like they're cheap enough. They're cheap enough that you could take a couple, and like tag teams and stuff run around. Like they're pretty cheap. Like the Empire guys, 96 points for the full plate armor. Like, adding that on top of 160, looking at just 256 points for that loadout. If you just go for the Imperial Griffin times 2, 500 points for 2 of these guys running around. It's not too bad.
And as we've noted, there's lots of ways to get that 5-up ward save. We've counted 3 different ways. So yeah, that's, I don't know, super not bad. I've been converted to, and also I know a lot of people thought that the Imperial Griffin model was very divisive when it first came out because it is gigantic for a Griffin. So I am particularly pleased that they broke it out, that it's not just like a normal Griffin, it's actually a juiced up Griffin. Yeah. And so that more traditionally sized Griffin is a different model. I really like that. But I mean, if you're looking at doing this, the big one is just way better.
Yeah, definitely. So that's our kind of like foot character, and obviously like we know now, like, or your general sort of character, we know now like where the game is at. The reason you're taking these is because you want to build some like fighty guys that are going to run around, and you are going to mount them most of the time. To be honest. Now Empire Wizards, let's go. You got Wizard Lord 130, Master Mage 60. You can obviously upgrade the Wizard Lord to level 4 and the Master Mage to level 2 and have 150 points. Got a lot of options for magic, which is good.
Yes.
Battle magic, demonology, dark magic, elementalism, illusion, and necromancy.
All the good ones.
All the good ones. Because you are able, unlike some other factions, to take a lot of shooting, like cannons as an example, or like any of the other shooting, then obviously then loading into that shooting line with battle magic, so fireball, pillar of fire, does seem to make a lot of sense. But then, if you didn't go that way and you were trying to have a more support mage, you've got a lot of options to run in a support mage.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. This is sort of the key again of making those super soldiers. I guess the idea is, you take demonology and you can really buff up your bricks or whatever. I think dark magic has some buffs too. Talking out of my butt on that one. But overall, you've got a very standard pricing, so 160 points for a level 4, and then again access to up to 2 of them can have ward saves if that's what you want. You can put them on a Pegasus. You can put them on that Imperial Griffin, although that Imperial Griffin probably wants to be fighting. I don't know. Wizard Lords, what more is there to say? They're awesome and almost an auto-include.
Yeah, if this is the first time you've ever watched an old world video ever and you've made it in an hour in, you must have a level 4 wizard. Go get one. Choose a spell lore, go play the game and have a good time. If you're already listening enough that you know that wizards are something you always bring, start choosing what you need. Right, we've got Masters of the Knightly Order. You've got Grandmaster and Chapter Master. And again, this is just like a mounted character. It starts out with heavy armor and stuff. But the reasons that you're bringing them, Master of Battle special rule. If this model joins a unit of Empire Knights, Inner Circle Knights, or Demigryph Knights, that unit will gain the Immune to Psychology special rule. Should this model leave a unit, it's joined for any reason, they lose that special rule. It's also got Counter Charge, First Charge, Immune Psychology, Master of Battle, Rallying Cry, Stubborn, and Swift Stride. It can be armed on a Barded Warhorse, Pegasus, or Demigryph. Is what it could be mounted on. So it's just another type of foot character that you can get at Leadership 9, Toughness 4. It's got different mount options and it brings a slightly different buff with it to the army.
Yeah, not to be a stickler, but must be mounted. So he's got to be on one of those options.
Yeah.
I don't know. So at 145 points, you probably have a better read of this than I do. For that stat lines, because we're jumping up 50 points, so 90 50 points for your base.
Yeah.
So more than 55 points over the general. Yeah.
What do I get for that? Masters of Battle. That's what I get.
You get better initiative, better weapon skill.
4 attacks. 4 attacks versus 3 attacks.
4 attacks.
Weapon skill 6. So it's just a better fighting character, but hilariously on a worse mount.
Yes. Yeah. If he could be on the Imperial Griffin, like that would be potentially good. But even at 145 points for this guy,
I wouldn't mind if he was like 120, 130, and I could maybe spam Pegasuses. Maybe have like 3 on Pegasus would be fun. Like, 4 attacks from him, 2 attacks from the Pegasus. That's actually like legit, right? But like you're talking like 250 points, and as we've said, we can go get our general on Empire, General of the Empire on a Pegasus for 250 points. Not Pegasus, sorry, on a Griffin for 250 points.
Yeah.
So I don't see how like the delivery system. I just get a better mount with a worse rider, or I get a better rider with a worse mount, but the mounts, like the swing isn't the same. I'm getting a better. I'm getting a better situation from the general.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely bang on there. And then I mean, like, you got to pay 3 points for full plate at 145 points. Yeah. The Chapter Master, on the other hand, at 75 points, as like a guy to just pad up or like boost up your unit of Demigryph Knights or what have you. Maybe not so bad, but I don't know. I think because of the pointing on these guys, they're going to get overlooked. Like 145 points. I'm just trying to think. He's very comparable to a Black Orc War Boss, I guess. I don't think they're 145 points. Are they?
No, not at all. I think it is overcosted. Absolutely. Okay. We can move on. Do you want to take us through Witch Hunters? Giving you such a lame duck. I'm so sorry.
No, Witch Hunter. Hey, no. All right. I'll go to bat for Witch Hunters.
All right. Okay.
Here we go. We've got your step like slightly better than usual human stat line, by the way. So this is that right there is pretty good. weapon skill, ballistic skill 4, strength 4, toughness 4, 2 wounds, initiative 5, 2 attacks, leadership 8, 55 points. Now we're getting into a value package, Rob.
It's cheap.
Pretty cheap little character here, and this guy's great for buffing, as we're going to find out. They can take, let's see, what's their armor option? They have hand weapon, light armor, and no armor option. Cool. So you can
you can mount them though. You can mount them.
Excuse me. Yes, that's actually super important. They can be mounted. That's great. So what does that get you? That gets you immune to psychology, killing blow, and suffer not the ... Killing blow, I don't think applies to his pistol or abrasive pistol attacks like it used to, or his handgun, but maybe I'm wrong. So each Windshunter in your army must have one of the following specialisms chosen when writing your list. So this is before the tournament or before the event or before the game. This specialism indicates which of the many enemies of humanity the Witch Hunter is tasked with hunting. So we have Suffer Not the Witch. The Witch Hunter and any unit they have joined gains the Hatred, enemy wizards, and magic resistance 2 special rules.
Pretty good.
So it's 55 points for a character that gives you MR2 and, is a decent stat line. Not bad. The Revenant, Witch Hunter, and any unit they have joined gains the Hatred, Undead, and Flaming Attack special rules.
Very meta dependent.
Very meta dependent.
Great into undead, terrible into dwarfs. Both very popular. So just fuck yourself one way or the other.
But again, 55 points for a dude, right? Give him a great weapon, for 4 points, 59 points. We're just a dude. Suffer Not the Mutant, the Witch Hunter, and any unit they have joined against the Hatred, Warriors of Chaos, and Beasts of Chaos, and Magic Res -1 special rules. And finally, the Demon, the Witch Hunter, and any unit they have joined against the Hatred, demonic models, and magical attack special rules. That magical attacks one is particularly juicy, I think, because there are definitely certain matchups that it just absolutely hurts. Like against demons, for example, they don't get any saves. Mm-hmm. Against troll hordes, they don't get to reroll saves. Ooh. And there's lots of different ward saves out there that people take that are against non-magical attacks only. I don't know. I think there are some decent buffs there. You don't have to pay for this, and a chance to sort of tailor your list a little bit.
Yeah, a wizard bunker that is itself Magic Res 2. Is a decent build to put this in. You're like, cool, I want Magic Res 2. I've got my wizard in here as well. So now if you're trying to hurt the bunker with spells, whether or not that's worth it, I don't know. I personally don't see I feel like I'm doing a lot to make units better, and those units still don't perform when I finally do make them better. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yes, but you can see the design intent here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Especially rolling into the Warrior Priest of Sigmar.
Woo! Okay, so you got Lector Sigmar, Priest of Sigmar, 110 and 60 points. These are regular infantry characters, hand weapon and light armor. You can go up to heavy armor and a shield, which is nice. Can be mounted. And a Lector, importantly, can go on the old shrine, which is important. So you get magic attacks, Magic Res 1, and Prayers of Sigmar. So these are your buff support pieces, like Val said. The way these work are, during the command subphase, which is the first turn, the first thing you do in your turn, subphase of their turn, this character may attempt to invoke Sigmar's blessing by chanting a single prayer from the list below and make a leadership test using their own leadership. And leadership 8 for the Lector of Sigmar. If you have a general, then you're going to be potentially leadership 9 around. Or using their own leadership, so it's only going to be leadership 8. Sorry, if this test is passed, the prayer takes immediate effect. So you got Hammer of Sigmar. Until starting next turn, subphase, the model, its mount, and a single friendly unit that's within command range of this player is chanted may reroll any rolls to hit or to wound of a natural 1 made during the combat phase. Shield of Faith until starting next turn. Subphase, this model and a single friendly unit within command range has a 5 ward save against any wounds suffered during the shooting phase. And then finally, you got Soulfire, a single enemy unit. This model engaged is in combat with immediate suffers D6 strength 3 hits with an AP of 2. They have flaming attack special rule. So my initial thoughts is that this is just a lot of extra steps to get stuff that I can get from Magic, but worse and not as effective. It clearly has some intent to do something, which is super fun. But just looking at it before we talk about them being mounted or anything, this just is cool. I can get most of these things somewhere else, more reliably and better. Like 5-up ward save against shooting. Like, cool. I could just get a 5-up ward save on a unit if I really want to. Is there anything in my army that I really want to give a 5-up ward save to? It's a great question. Like, because it's kind of a horde army, right? Kind of.
It could be. So, I mean, I think as anyone who's an Empire fan knows, like these Prayers of Sigmar are similar to what they used to be, except patentedly worse. And that's too bad. They used to just get straight hatred for Hammer of Sigmar. Rolls of to hit or to wound of a natural one really is not bad. That's super not bad. You put that onto maybe Demigryph Knights or something like that. Maybe that's a useful thing. Shield of Faith used to just be a 5-up ward save in combat. Now it's just against shooting. So that's unfortunate. Soulfire used to just give everyone flaming attacks in Magic. Well, wait a minute, hold on a second. These hits have the flaming attack special rules. So yeah, just a bummer. They got really reduced in effectiveness. And again, because the baseline that you're buffing from, that you're trying to like level up those like regular dudes that we're going to meet soon, like they need to be better than this, and that's the heavy-heartedness of the situation.
Yeah. So then we've got you can mount it on a War Altar of Sigmar, which is a heavy chariot with a 4-up armor save. It's toughness 5 with 5 wounds, pretty nice. And it's not too slow either. It's movement 7. So it's got Close Order, First Charge, Holy Fervor, Impact hits D6 +1. Which we love. Large target, Magic Res 2, Stubborn, Symbol of Might, Terror, and Witchbane. So we'll talk about those special rules. Holy Fervor, unless this unit is fleeing, units within 6 inches automatically pass any fear tests they're required to make and can reroll failed panic tests. So passing the panic, I think, would be nice, but this is 135 points. Then you got a Symbol of Might. The command range Electro Sigmar mount on the water is increased from 8 to 12. And obviously, if it's a general, it's going to be 18 inches for that. And then Witchbane, all wizards within this model's combat range, friend or foe, suffer -2 to their casting roll. And you can, as we've said, have your casting roll be your command range, be 18 inches. So all wizards within this model's command range, friend or foe, -2 to their casting roll. Which means, ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to take it. You're not going to have it near your army. If Witchbane was elective, you would immediately just not take it.
Assuming, I mean, 18-inch bubble of -2 is great, except for the fact that you also would like to be able to cast things.
Imagine spending 135 points to gut your army. It's terrible.
Yeah, unless you're in a situation where you're just not taking wizards for some reason.
I don't know.
Gonna say spa?
Yeah, like sometimes, so just for people who are watching, who maybe don't play as much, sometimes having a wizard is almost nothing to do with what you're casting and everything about stopping their spells. Like,
true. Yeah. And also,
that's a fair thing to say, I reckon, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So maybe you just take a level 4, you don't think you're going to cast a load of spells, and you'd be like, cool, I'm gonna shut them down by -2, and I'm gonna, because think about this now. If you were to take the Book of Ashur and get +1, so you're now effectively always dispelling their spells at a +3. There's your, for a lot of points, there's your kind of like puppet situation. They're going to be -3 to cast basically.
Well, there's that dispel item +1 to dispel, which is 35, I think we saw.
Yeah.
So that actually isn't the craziest investment. So there you go. And there is still the chance that you're outside of that 18-inch bubble, and so like they're affected, but you're not, and you're casting at regular and dispelling essentially at +3.
Yes. Yeah. But those noises, if you're listening, are noises of people who are not convinced. So
yeah. But I mean, one thing I did say though earlier was that and is there all wizards with -2 modifier of the casting rolls? That's a whole spell, I think, in high magic, which I spent way too long talking about how good it was before realizing it wasn't good. And so like that -2, because magic, you're right. If you lean into magic as I'm bringing this magic defense as strictly defense. One other thing to keep in mind too is that suddenly you have a level 2 wizard dispelling at the same power as a level 4 wizard.
Yes. Yeah. But it also means that level 2 wizard is casting nothing because they're -2.
Sure, but I mean, like, that still gives you way better dispel power than, say, the dwarves have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Potentially. Yeah. So, like, again, if you don't want to lean into magic, even though that's probably the strongest thing that Empire has, it does make you oddly. That is a cool piece to key off of as sort of an anti-magic type of a situation. The other issue too is the best casters in the game are casting at +8 or whatever stupid bullshit the Tomb Kings can get to.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
all right, do you want to take us through the warrior priest of Ulrich?
So this was cool to see when the Grand Army came out. I was pretty pumped because I think these guys appeared in the in sort of the original Storm of Chaos arc that was then retconned into the end times. And they were not featured in 8th edition anywhere that I recall. So this was a net new unit to me. I had never heard of a High Priest of Ulrich. So we have comparing them to the Warrior Priest of Sigmar, I think identical as far as stat lines are concerned. 110 points for the High Priest of Ulrich, 60 points for your regular priest. That's the same. Leadership's 8 and 7. That's the same. So yeah, these guys are the same as far as I can see. Then we have the ability to take heavy armor and shield. Fantastic. They may be mounted. However, they do not have the option of the War Altar of Sigmar. Would have been really cool to maybe we'll see that in one of the future supplements where they let you kit bash a War Altar of Ulrich. But yeah, so they're stuck on probably what, a horse, and what do they get? Bear with me. Lecter, high. So yeah, it's basically a Barded Warhorse or an Empire Warhorse. Is all these guys can be on if need be. That being said, they have magical attacks, magic res 1, prayers of Ulrich. Their prayers of Ulrich work the same as the Sigmar prayers. Let's see how they roll. Are they any better? We got Battle Howl. Until your next start of turn subphase, when this model in a single friendly unit within its command range, when this prayer is chanted, makes a charge roll, you may apply a +D3 modifier to the result. This prayer may only affect model whose troop type is infantry or cavalry. Okay. Winter's Chill. Until your start of turn subphase, any enemy model that directs its attacks against this model, its mount, or any unit that joined during the combat phase must reroll any rolls to hit up a natural 6.
Love that.
Okay. Wrath of Winter. Until your next start of turn subphase, this model, its mount, and any unit is joined gains the multiple wounds 2 special rule.
Yeah. So that's pretty good, right? The Wrath of Winter.
So both Battle Howl.
I love all 3.
Yeah, these feel overall more useful than the Sigmar ones.
Yeah. Very, very, very effective. I love this. I'm a little disappointed that the Arcane Journal didn't end up being an Ulrich themed or a more Ulrichian. I don't think that's a word.
Middenheim? Is it Middenheim or? Yeah.
But we didn't end up seeing like a regiment of renown, or sorry, an army of infamy. But I expect to see one in the future because like they're in there now and they've given some turn. And these are quite clearly more effective than the other ones that we saw. So I like these.
Yeah, I would give the edge to them for sure. Although think about this. I would have. Yeah, they don't get the War Altar, which I don't know if that's necessarily the biggest deal. And the other thing is that they're friggin' Ulrich. That's always going to make me not want to take them.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Don't be hating on my Wolfie boys. That's fine. All right.
All right. Okay. Well, you get a fun one. Engineers.
Yeah. So by the way, I like the prayers of Ulrich, and if the units were better, I think that this would end up being very effective. Personally. So I'm going for. Yes, engineers, just a normal stat line. You can take pigeon bombs, and we discussed how good they are. You can have a Hochland long rifle, though, and that's only 10 points, and that's great because they're ballistic skill 4. Don't hate that. 45 points. 55 points to just be pinging characters down range. Don't hate that at 36 inches. But the reason that you're taking them, ignoring that kind of, if you thought about that as like a mini cannon, well, it's not bad, 55 points.
Or the grenade launching blunderbuss too, which is also super dope. Both of those options are great. Yep.
Agreed that, that could, exactly, 24-inch range. Valsi is super right. But it's got two special rules. One, clouds of soot and smoke. This model is considered to be behind a full cover whilst it's within 3 inches of any friendly troop type who's war machine. It's great. We love that. And then you got master of ballistics. Unless this model is fleeing or engaged in combat, once per turn, a friendly Empire war machine that's within its command range can either use this model's ballistic skill characteristic or re-roll a single artillery die. Now, the way that you structure this, and I've seen a lot of Empire players do this, is they'll be like, cool, I'm going to fire my cannon. Didn't roll a misfire. That's fine. I'm going to fire my other cannon. Didn't fire a misfire. That's fine. And then they come to their what's it called? Hellblaster volley gun. And then they're like, right, now I'm using the ballistic skill. Or they kind of, there's an order of operations and how to use it to make this more effective. But for 45 points, bargain bucket to make your units more effective.
Absolutely. And so one engineer basically can provide insurance to a number of war machines because you don't have to declare this at any point. Something also really important to point out is that it's can use either this model's ballistic skill characteristic or reroll a single artillery dice. So if you're firing off one of them, Hellstrom, the volley gun, Hellfire, Hellstrom, whatever.
Yeah.
Then basically, if you don't roll a misfire, you can use the ballistic skill.
Yeah.
It used to be that you had to declare one or the other. You no longer do. So it's if you get through the roll and you don't have to use that reroll on the misfire, you can do it. Also, you can have multiple engineers impacting the same war machine.
That's cool. I did not know that.
So if you have, unless this model is fleeing engaged in combat once per turn, a friendly Empire war machine that is within its command range. So there's no reason why you couldn't, for example, have 3 engineers, which I did when I ran this army, standing near your guys, and one helps with a reroll on a misfire on the same volley gun that the other one is now boosting the ballistic skill. So depending on what you need to do in that moment, which weapon firing is more important to you, that's your order of operation.
Yeah. So just if you're going to take the cannons, and I feel like you're going to take the cannons most of the time, or the Hellblaster volley gun, then an engineer hanging out is good. And the fact that they're cheap, the fact that they're they've got survivability thanks to being in cover, and you can take one of 2 great longer range weapons for very cheap means it's just a bargain, really. You know. It's just easy. You more feel like this should have been an upgrade option for a cannon versus its own individual model. But like if you're building the way you're building it. Okay, right. So the first unit we're going to look at is the Empire State Troops. So these will make up the backbone potentially of the core, which, as we've discussed earlier, is your tax. So you got state troops and veteran state troops, 5 points per model, 7 points per model. Either way, they've got hand weapons and light armor. And if you are so enthused, you can give them shields, so 5 up. You got halberds and thrusting spears as an option for a point apiece. Shields are a point apiece. So, 7 points for state troops, 9 points for veteran state troops. And you can have a shit ton of them. If you have the veteran, you can have a drilled special rule. Sorry, if you have veteran state troop, they can have drilled. They can have a magic standard as well. And then, yes, you've got close order, detachment, and regimental unit for the state troops. And same for veteran, close order, detachment, regimental unit, and veteran, obviously, veteran keyword. So this is kind of the backbone of how your army works because, it's not the backbone. It's the backbone of how they wanted Empire to work, where you would have regiments and detachments, and you would go along that route. But they are quite expensive for the stats that you get.
Why?
What do you mean?
Why are they 5 points a model? What makes this guy different than a goblin?
The toughness?
Nope.
Oh.
Weapon skill? Weapon skill is 1 more.
How much is a goblin points-wise?
3 points.
Wow.
Initiative? And if I'm not mistaken, has light armor. Or even like a Bretonnian peasant.
Yeah.
No warband, no horde. Like you got to pay for drilled on the veterans, and they're 2 points more. Like they're just, I can see what these guys are just brutally pointed and underruled. Like Why close order detachment regimental unit? That's it, guys.
Yeah. So like Val is saying, like there were so many other special rules that are missing, which is kind of what we talked about when we talked at the beginning of the show. You just don't have enough to bring to the table. A big block of halberds with shields, and you're like, okay, fun. I've got a 7-point model, which you can just rip to pieces. It's not fast. They're initiative 3, but they're not fast. They're not going to do a lot of work. They've got bad weapon skill. They're not a frontline fighting unit, and they're also not a unit that's going to take a hit. And they have no bonuses to either of the two things that you would want them to do. A block of, they're just overtaxed, like many a working Empire man, but they are core.
Like if so, I guess a few things. So yes, they're core. So that's means you may at least you don't have to take them. That's a really nice thing. There is no like core requirement in Empire, but there's so many people out there who I have 80 awesome stinky bum Sterlinders who are just wanting to go poke things with their halberds, and on good conscience, like it's very hard to layer anything on this. That's good because they don't have any of the inbuilt usual core infantry rules, which is such a bummer. I think you could fix this unit, not fix it, but at least put it on a more equal footing. Just drop it down to like a state troopers 3 points and veteran state trooper 4 points, maybe 5.
No.
Maybe. What do they get? They get veteran. They get veteran. So 4 points.
4 points. 3 and 4 points.
And then if you want drilled, then they're 5 points a model. Boom, done.
Yeah, I'm with Val 100%. And I think because ultimately, it's going to sound really odd, but you are a horde army. You are as much of a horde army as a Skaven or a goblin army. You are, the humans versus the idea is the humans versus the goblins is a pretty similar fight. And then hulking brutes of orcs turn up, and they are much more like gargantuan and strong than a human.
Base points of an orc. Okay, they have impetuous built in or whatever, but they have warband, and I think they're 5 points, and their toughness 4.
Yes,
and so, maybe weapon skill 4. I don't know about weapon skill, but nonetheless, like what the hell. We want to take state troops. I think you could fix this though, or at least make it a lot better with a significant points decrease. Because then, quantity is a quality all of its own, right? Because right now, like people are trying to do stuff with the Griffin banner we were talking about. They're trying to do the war banner. Basically, you can try and make a unit that just has a lot of built-in combat res. Cool, sounds good. But the absolute best save you can give these guys out of the box is a 5-up. With a shield and sword?
Yeah, a 5-up.
And they're 5 points a model each base. It's crazy.
A 5-up save is bad when your 3-up save has been reduced by AP2. Like right. You're like, oh no. Anyway, so like we're not trying to dog on them, but like the idea of paying. Oh wow, yeah, we are. They're bad. They're bad because they're expensive. They're classified wrong in the designer sets. So then we move on to state missile troops, which is a similar sort of thing, like strength and toughness 3. They're ballistic seal 3. And you can have, they've got hand weapons and crossbows. You can take light armor if you want, but you're not charged for them. But again, an outrageous 7 points per model. You can have full command, obviously, and sergeant can have long rifle, pistols, or whatever. And then one unit can have drilled and a magic standard as well. But again, 7 points. I don't know what goblins with a bow are, or even skeleton. 4 points. So you're almost getting 2 goblins per missile troop here. I think you've identified the problem here is that they're just very, very expensive for what they do. And as we've said, infantry is also bad. So these are an overcosted, bad unit type. So like these are a problem for you as an Empire player.
I would just give a slight edge though, as far as like infantry to take from core. Second place maybe goes to state missile troops, right? Because at the very least, they have a 30-inch threat, right? On the crossbow.
They're better than nothing, absolutely.
So at the very least, they can maybe punk some things. Again, the fact that the handgun is plus 1 point. If the handgun was also 30-inch range, okay, but it's not. It's like the handgun versus crossbow trade-off has always been AP for range, right? That's always been the thing.
Yeah.
So like handgunners again being 1 point per model seems kind of senseless. It should be just free. I also like your call out there that you don't have to take light armor, but why isn't that just part of their cost?
It's 7 points.
So however, I dare say that the state missile troops ain't useless. You probably would be underwhelmed by them when you put them on the table. I know I've taken them just as a means to have a ranked up unit. But I think very rapidly you realize they don't do a whole lot. It is a cool way on that champion to like put an extra repeater handgun or a Hawkland long rifle into your army. But that's cool. He does have BS4, so he is he's there with the engineer at the same sort of tier. So that's cool. Can we think of a reason to have drilled on these guys? Is there a reason?
No. None. Do you know what it does? It is good though, because it does mean if you're an Empire player, you do not have to be painting up. Like, it's not a situation where you're like, oh my God, you want loads of extra core. So you're not being like, right, okay, I'm going to get into Empire in 2025 or whatever, or whenever you're watching this video. Thank God I don't have to paint 120 dudes. You're going to try and scrape as many of these little dudes together, which is fine. So that's state missile troops. Now we're getting into the good sauce.
Almost there. We're almost there.
We're getting into the Free Company Militia and the Empire Archers. So let's talk about the Free Company Militia. This is this is 6 points a model, so they are cheaper. They got mixed weapons, which count as 2-hand weapons and throwing weapons. I'll take that. And you can have a militia leader. But importantly, they do have detachment, horde, impetuous, levies, open order, and warband. So that's a lot of special rules, but effectively what it's saying is if you have a lot of them, their leadership, which is base leadership 6, can be quite high. Levies means they can't use your general's leadership or the BSB. And so like it's not bad. And you can have a warband leader join them potentially, which is, I don't know.
Do we have one?
I think for some reason, I think the priests are warband, but maybe I'm making that up.
If that's true, that's actually kind of interesting.
But I think I'm making that up, to be honest. No, they aren't.
I wonder if it was literally just like they were all warband and horde, and then they were like, that doesn't sound like an Empire unit.
Yeah,
and they just took them out because it didn't sound right.
Yeah, so levies is a negative. This is basically a debuff. You've got impetuous is also a debuff because obviously they're going to be charging away. They're still not as cheap as goblins. At 6 points, they don't have any armor. Then their leadership is low. So what you're talking about is a unit that at least has an extra attack because it's got 2-hand weapons, so 2 attacks each, and has got some throwing weapons. So pseudo 3 attacks in a kind of weird way. But what you're really looking at is a unit that's going to charge off or run away, and you don't really have much of a choice on it. But they are slightly cheaper.
Cheaper than what?
Cheaper than the veterans.
Oh yeah, you're right. So there's 6. Sorry, I was looking at the 7 points in later. So yeah, they are cheaper than the veterans, but they are somehow more expensive than regular state troops.
Yeah,
even though these are the militia.
Yeah, this is the militia. I mean, they do have an extra attack, so like that is a thing. An extra attack.
Do they?
Yeah, because they got 2-hand weapons.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I'm also over here thinking like for that res bonus. So like for like that combat res sort of approach, because they're horde, that means that they can do 1 extra rank. So
can't have a banner.
These guys, but they can have a BSB, right?
Yeah, they can have a BSB with a magic, so they could get +2 to that.
So they could get, well, they wouldn't be able to do Griffin standard plus War Banner and have a unit standard. So yeah, I don't know. It would probably be right on the edge of the same.
Also, they're going to melt.
Yeah, they're all going to melt.
Yeah.
They're all melting. Melting. All right. So now what?
Empire Archers. Okay, let's do them. So this is all core, by the way.
This is all core, and one last point. Now that we're through the sort of three guys that are the most heartbreaking, I would say. I think we just highlighted just how easy these are to fix. I think Empire could get a rebalance of some kind. You add a couple keywords, or even if that's too much to ask, we could see just a points decrease, and boom, they're at least like usable. And right now they seem to be pointed for rules they used to have. They have suspiciously so few special rules, like compared to literally anything else, like in anything. That I could see this getting fixed, and it's not something we need to be fully despondent about. All right, Empire Archers, though, this is the moneymaker, I think, as far as core is concerned. We've got why is that, Val? I'll tell you why. The reason is they can, for 1 point a model, they're starting at 7, so already doing okay. They're starting at 7 points a model. For 1 extra point a model, they get the Fire and Free special rule. And for another extra point beyond that, they get the Scout special rule.
Yep.
So you have, they also have detachments, so you can bring them alongside if you, for some reason, bring a regiment of those other guys. They have move through cover, they have skirmishers, and they have vanguard. So they can either move up 4 inches before the game or be deployed somewhere in the neutral zone. Very, very useful for just causing annoyance and keeping an army at bay, or like as a jab, essentially. They also can tend to, when I was playing with them, they tend to get forgotten. So suddenly there's 5 to 10 dudes standing there that can loosen a few arrows and punk a wound out of nowhere. They're just this is what I would describe as a very useful unit. And it's core. And, I've run armies that were just Empire Archers as core.
Yep. Yeah. And they're your other core options aren't going to win a fight. So you at least might as well take the archers who also won't win a fight, but might shoot something.
Yeah. Might shoot something and just get in the way up the table.
Yeah.
Right? If they're scouting, they're way downfield. And again, if you're running, for example, on a gun line, that means that, if you use them correctly, that means that the enemy is taking longer to get to you. Because
they can do free reactions to charges, they can do a bunch of stuff to slow the enemy down. So that's the goal of the Empire. And move through cover, we should talk about that as well. Move through cover is also decent. Also a lovely bunker because of skirmishers for a wizard. So you can put a wizard inside.
Very true. Very true, yeah.
So you can put one of them cool new wizard sculpts and put them inside the skirmish unit as well. So that's also a little bonus. So there's genuinely a lot of good things about this, and it's because they actually have, as Val pointed out, some rules, which we love. So that's
some rules. And you'd look at this and you're thinking 8 points per model, that's still expensive as hell, for what these guys are doing for you. But at least you got something out of it, you know. Whereas those state troops, probably the Free Company, even if the Free Company had pistols like they do in Total War, that'd be sick. But no. But anyway, pardon me. At least here you have rules that you can then use, maybe not as a means to killing things and getting points, but as a means to helping the rest of your army. So it's a useful thing.
Yeah, I know wood elves are they're wood elves. They're there to shoot stuff, etc. But the concept of Empire Archers that specialized in hunting, hunting monsters, or Empire Archers that were experts at hunting something else, going along the kind of witch hunter theme. There's a lot of theme, therefore rules and specialization and customization, which currently doesn't exist inside the Empire roster. And while that is sad that that's the current situation, as we've seen with the Arcane Journals, they've done a pretty good job of starting to explore themes. So I could see eventually Empire being an incredibly fun army to play, very customizable. We just got to get there, and it's going to take some time. Yeah. And they obviously are putting the work in. Those new sculpts are sick. So they're committing to the bit, I would say.
Yeah. And the other thing is we don't quite know their perspective or what the source of, because again, this feels like it was written for a game that is different than what it was written for. You know what I mean? Just where they wound up being pointed and the amount of rules that they had, it just feels like there were edits made or not made that, Empire was maybe the first thing they wrote. That's a classic thing, right? The first codex or the first battle tome. And then everything else was built out after that. They never circled back to see like, okay, how is Empire hanging versus everything we've done since? And it just feels like this feels like first book syndrome.
Yeah, but it also gives us like a baseline for how the other books work against it. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we're moving out of core. I think. Oh no, because we need some knights out of core. Actually, let me change that up.
Sure. Yeah,
I'm pretty certain we need some knights out of core. So Empire Knights, kind of a winner out of core. So they're heavy cavalry with 1 wound. Make heavy cav 2 wounds. That is my quest. They're 21 points a model. Weapon skill 4, strength and toughness 3 knights. But they do have hand weapons, heavy armor 5 up, shield 4 up, and they have barding 3 up armor save.
That's not bad.
It's not bad. They can have great weapons lances, obviously. They are move 7 horses. And they can, great weapons lances or great weapons lances or they can have just great weapons. And then you've got full command, a magic banner up to 25 points. And then you can have 1 unit in the army can have drilled, and you can also have the stubborn keyword. And they've also got close order, counter charge, first charge, and swift stride. So this is all coming out your core. How do you feel about this as a unit coming out your core?
I think that because core sucks so hard, the unfortunate thing is we're going to read about Inner Circle Knights, and Empire Knights just wind up being the knights you get to take because you probably, again, they're expensive for what they are, but it gives you, at the very least, something that has close order, counter charge, first charge, and swift stride. For a couple of extra points, they have drilled and a lance, so they can actually go. They can go do stuff. They can start the game in a marching column, and fan out, so they can have a real long reach. Move, do like a 21-inch move to start the game, and suddenly again you're downfield, mixing it up, doing some stuff. So they're very useful. I also liked someone. I apologize to wherever this came from, but I read it somewhere. People who add stubborn to them on those sort of minimum size units, just to sort of lean on the fact that if they have armor value, what's the word? If they're armor value 3+ and they get the charge off, they might be able to survive an entire round of combat.
Yeah.
Especially if they have stubborn, because then they're at the worst case they're pushed back. And that is also super handy for tying up a unit for a little bit longer, which was something I hadn't thought of. So even at that extra 3 points, you got 25 points a model, 4 of them, 100 points for a 4 model unit sounds like craziness. But again, these are points you don't want to be spending anyway. What you're trying to do is you've got to spend 500 points. And the challenge with Empire Core is, what useful things can I squeeze out of those 500 points? And I would say Empire Knights provide you, just like the archers, the opportunity to have useful things. The problem then is, what do you have? You have an army that it looks, when you put it on the table, like a couple of tiny minimum units of Empire Knights and a bunch of minimum units of Empire archers. And now what the hell are you playing? Like, it doesn't look at all like what you want it to look like. And that's a feel bad. Mm-hmm. But that being said, Empire Knights, a super useful tool in the context of you have to spend 500 points on the worst core in Old World.
But not to in any way undersell it. That's important. Yeah.
I don't want people to think that I'm soft boiling my positions on this.
That's very fair. That's very fair.
I'll be open and honest. I have never actually read the like unit entry for an Empire State Troop, just because like I just waltz right past them, and to actually like sit down and look and read about them, they're just worse than I even imagined. So that's great.
When I did the, nearly a year ago now, but when I did the kind of overview for Empire, I was really excited to do the overview for Empire. And then I was just like, where is that extra bit? Because it wouldn't take like in other games, we would call them sub-faction rules, or like, being able to choose which city you're from and giving them a couple of additional rules is not a lot to ask to really change this up. And like you say, just points as well is the other thing. Like if they're not specialized, like, because that's the thing, Empire should be cities that kind of specialize significantly, because they're not border princes, but they kind of are border princes in many ways. Normally the Empire is surrounded on a flank by some sort of enemy. And they, we used to fighting against the Wood Elves, so we're better at, kind of being a skirmish battle army. Over here we're against the undead, so we're likely and better up here we're fighting against the warriors of chaos.
Yeah,
so
Sterling's fighting against poverty. They're really good at finding turnips.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, that's what the archers are for, right? Just taking out the people, putting them in poverty. Right. So then we got the inner circle knights. So we're moving out of core now. And I think we've covered everything in core. But if we haven't, I'm just going to jump around now. So inner circle knights are 29 points. So these are 8 points more expensive. They're still a wound apiece with 1 attack apiece. But these have got full plate and barding and can have a shield. So now you have a 2-up armor save knight that's not in your core. They've got stubborn at 2 points per model if you want it. Great weapons lances. They have drilled also in there as well. So you're getting a better, for the extra 8 points, you're getting better armor +1, which is invaluable. Drilled as well. Which is really good, and you get the inner circle special rule, swift stride, and veteran. And when engaging combat with the model of the special rule, but not its mount, you may re-roll any hit rolls of a natural 1 for the inner circle special rule. So, how do you feel about these as knights versus the Empire Knights, and also as knights in general?
As Empire Knights, I think I already touched. I think inner circle, they seem like a better package. But again, because you probably want to bring knights to fill out your core, our inner circle really what you're going to want to spend the other 2/3 of your army list, 3/4 of your army list on.
Yeah,
I would wager to say probably not. But that being said, they seem okay-ish. I mean, they're a 2+ armor save, so right there makes them fairly resilient. They have, I think, an upgraded weapon skill over the regular knights. Am I wrong about that or right about that?
They are. I don't know if they are a better weapon skill.
They're not. No, they're not. They're weapon skill 4,
which is pretty mid for like an elite combat unit.
Yeah, maybe. yes. I'm trying not to. I don't think this deserves the scorn of some of the other stuff we've already talked about, but nonetheless, I think it's a hard spend. 30 points a model, and you're getting. Again, you're getting like drilled, cool, veteran, very cool, but you're already spending 24-ish points on that core version of it. Is it really worth the extra 5 points and not going into core? I don't know. I would probably give these guys a pass, not smash, as currently written. However, what do we know about Arcane Journal? There's a bunch of Knightly Order stuff coming, right?
It's got to be really good.
It's going to have to be really good. Or maybe it lets you take an Inner Circle Knight as core. That would be super sick. Maybe something like that. Right?
And then it has to be really good. In addition.
If these things were just core off the jump, which probably should be, smash all day. I think then you're thinking not just throwaway unit. You're thinking, okay, I'm going to build this to be buffed and like a rough and tumble unit that's going to go do some damage. Yeah,
it's a good framework. Like, a 2-up armor save unit that can move 7 inches with Swiss stride is a good framework to like add some buffs onto, which is the problem with the other stuff. It's not been worth buffing. When you buff it, it still becomes worse than many other armies, which also can be buffed as well.
Yes.
So you're right. All the buffs are also weak source. That's the other problem. I mean, I don't hate the Ulrich buff, damage 2. That's huge. Pretty sweet. Yeah, it made that work. All right, let's go back up to some infantry before we do cool units.
But we'll talk about them in rare. But if I'm giving something damage 2, it's probably coming out of my rare choice, and they probably sound like demigryphs. Oh no, our demigryphs are special, aren't they?
Yeah, they're special. Don't worry.
Oh, well, never mind, Empire. It's Inner Circle Knights.
Sorry, Empire, Inner Circle Knights. Right, so we're going to talk Empire Greatswords, an iconic unit. So this is a heavy, it's a regular infantry unit. Strength and toughness 3. They've got full plate armor base, so they've got a 4-up armor save, so it's not bad at all. They have only got 1 attack apiece, though, but they are really cheap at 11 points. And I'm talking about in context of this book. Like in context of this book, 11 points versus what you're getting for your 5 points of core infantry. I don't know. I don't feel it's awful. You got full plate at the end of the day. It's only one attack. Anyway, then you've got full command. You got close order regimental unit, and it's a stubborn unit as well. They can have drilled, they can have veteran, and they can have a magic stand up to 50 points as well. So they are only movement 4 though, and as we've said, there is a problem with infantry in the game. And they've got these, their great weapons obviously means they're going to be striking last unless they do a big charge, and they're probably getting charged first.
Most likely. Yep.
Yeah. But they are a regimental unit, but not weirdly able to be a detachment, which if you were to take a big brick of regimental, like not militia, Empire State troops, and then have these guys as your detachment, and then countercharging with these guys would be quite interesting. But having this, they have to be the unit that gets hit. It's pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah, the Empire Greatswords. Let's yeah. 11 points? Like these guys 7 points?
In the 0. Like I'm never like so again, the state of the game as is now. I can't see how this. So for people who are new and watching this, like, oh, is there anything that's good? There is definitely stuff that's good. We're going to get to it. But the problem is these are always going to get charged first, and because they haven't as of yet done anything about step up, it means the front rank is going to get wiped out. And therefore you're never going to swing with them. So you're gonna in your head as you're painting their breastplates and their cod pieces, you're gonna be like, oh, when these guys swing their sword, it's going to be amazing. And they're never going to swing their sword, and it'll be the worst feel bad you could have at the moment playing this unit because it doesn't work. That's it. I'd be close to say that they're broken, like mechanically. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes total sense to me. Great swords. I think at 11 points a model, like their infantry. Yes, they have a 4-up save, but at 11 points a model, they're probably at least a -1 AP on that. So they're 5-up save. So 2/3 of those wounds are going through. 10 of these guys, 110 points. A brick of 20, 220 points, and that's not. They don't even get. These are veteran of veterans, and they don't have the veteran special rule. They go to 12 points. I don't see how you make a useful unit out of the Empire Greatswords, quite frankly. Again, you can make a unit that looks really cool, great on the shelf, beautiful. I love these models so much. They're evocative. They look like they just look like a Dutch painting. They're sick. I want to be excited for Greatswords. As of right this second, it's hard to be.
Agreed. All right, so next up we're moving up to much less armored but much more insane flagellants. Again, strength toughness 3, only 1 attack, but they do have hatred, all enemies, unbreakable, furious charge, feel no pain, fantastical zeal, close order, immune psychology, loads of good stuff. Can have a standard bearer as well, which is fun.
What? Really?
Yeah. Standard bearer and the prophet, they can have a champion. But their special rules is fanatical zeal. A unit with a special rule can be joined by a lector of Sigmar or a priest of Sigmar. However, they are the only characters that can join the unit. A lector of Sigmar or a priest of Sigmar that joins the unit is considered to have the unbreakable special rule for as long as they remain with the unit. So this is an unbreakable block. And then feel no pain. A model of the special rule has a 6-up ward save against any wounds suffered that were caused by non-magical attacks, and a 5-up ward against any wounds suffered that were caused by non-magical attacks with a strength 5 or higher. And important to remember, they have no armor otherwise than that. This is interesting. How do you feel? The hand weapon and flails, which flails are good because on the charge, it's strength +2, AP2. Yeah.
I think workable. I mean, I know JTY loves them. This is the dragon defense, apparently. Very fascinating to me that you can have a standard in them. That's really fascinating. But you can't upgrade it. So yeah, you can't add anything to the standard bearer, which is a bummer. So you can't get that reroll that you would want on that leadership test on that Sigmar priest. Yeah, I think these guys are at least fun in theory. Again, the points on them make them a little hard because they're supposed to be like throwaway dudes. They're like kind of like slayers, but for Sigmar, right?
Yeah.
So if you treat them that way, I think it could be fun. They're fanatical zeal, furious charge. They're not impetuous. Oh, they are impetuous. There we go.
Yeah.
Um,
They're also really expensive at 13 points each.
I mean, I've just said that so often that I was trying not to say it, but there you go. 13 points. The model just completely kills this unit. Yeah, they're going to die. I wonder what a Slayer costs, because this is basically a Slayer unit. The non-magical attack ward save, though, pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I could see some min units. You know what I mean? Like, maybe like 6x2. They're unbreakable, so like an immune psychology, so like they get pin cushioned all day. They're not going anywhere. You know, like some little min unit, but 12 of them is like what? Nearly 150 points? Do I want that? That's about my about the price I like to pay for like my little MSU units. And what would I get from that? Like, I need some archers that get charged first, then I charge back, hoping that they don't overrun into me. What's my threat range? I'm infantry, so my average threat range is 7. Their average overrun with a Swift Stride unit that is charging the archers is what, 11?
Yeah, I think ironically, you know, and the other thing is too with these guys, you would probably want a Warrior Priest of Ulrich trailing behind. Although, oh my God, the Ulrich, yeah, never mind, that doesn't even work. So yeah, the Wrath of Winter, the 2 wounds, multiple wounds, 2 special rule 1, requires that they're in the unit. But
you can only
you could give them Battle Howl. You could give them the D3, plus D3 to their charge.
Okay, so on average, we're getting a 9-inch charge with these guys.
Potential maul.
We're trying really hard here. Okay, we're gonna move on. Would you like to take the next one? I realized I've been doing them all. I really apologize.
Oh, I've just been aghast most of the time, so that's okay. I think I would have just been sitting here slack-jawed for a little while otherwise. So, oh man. Okay.
You don't want to do Pistoliers?
Say something nice. Say something nice. I can't. No, you go on Pistoliers, and then I can do the one that I really like.
All right, okay. Pistoliers. So this is a cavalry unit, a missile cavalry unit. They move 8, which is nice and fast. The leadership is low. Leadership 6 and 7 with if you take the champion. Importantly, they've got a brace of pistols and heavy armor. And then for special rules, they've got countercharge, fast cavalry, fire and flee, but they do have impetuous, open order, skirmishers, and swift stride. So this unit of Pistoliers, when they do charge, I'm thinking a brace of pistols means they get an extra attack on the charge. I think that's right. Yes. So then they've got, but the problem is they're an impetuous unit of gunners. You want to run around with the gunners and shoot and not charge. But instead, this unit is going to occasionally accidentally charge at the enemy, and it's going to upset you a little bit.
Yeah, and just to make that even worse, because it already sounds not great, they're skirmishers. I guess it could be an open order, so you could like control what they're pointing at. But their pistols are 12 inches, Rob.
Yeah,
the 12-inch range on a pistol, so you got to be up close and personal, doing fun stuff. And then, whoopsie, we all want to die now. We're gonna go charge into this unit. I think it's bad on like high elf. What are the what's
Dragon
their
Princes.
heavy cap? Dragon Princes. But at least a Dragon Prince is a Dragon Prince.
When it charges, yeah.
So like they have impetuous, but they got other things. So like, yeah, that's fun and flavorful. I know Pistoliers are described literally with the word impetuous. They're supposed to be like cocksure, reckless, young nobles and stuff. But that rule just really doesn't work here because they want to get close so they can shoot them with their guns. And because a brace of pistol actually doesn't let you use the pistol in combat anymore, it used to give you AP and I think strength 4. They just suck. They suck so bad, and they're so cool.
They're very cool. Although the models are a little dated, but they're pretty cool.
Oh yeah, you're not. So yeah, that's where when were we doing? I think I really like the Pistolier model. So
yeah,
but that's a matter of taste.
yeah. Your classy taste and my gross taste. Yeah,
or maybe I have the gross taste. I don't know.
Okay, well listen, let's do Outriders instead.
All right, now let's again. Let's put the Pistoliers in perspective here. 16 points a model for Pistolier. Here we go. Outriders, 19 points a model. We have a base ballistic skill of 4.
Love that.
The Sharpshooter, their upgrade has a base ballistic skill of 5.
Not missing.
So already for 3 points more, you're getting +1 pip on your ballistic skill. They are carrying hand weapons, pistols, a repeater handgun, and heavy armor. So they have the heavy armor as well.
I love the heavy armor.
Pistols.
That's great.
So these guys are pistoliers. They have pistols as well as the Outrider gun. I have actually never noticed the fact that they have pistols. That's sick. Any unit may upgrade to a sharpshooter and have a musician. Musician's super handy in these guys. A sharpshooter may replace the repeater handgun with a brace of pistols, the grenade launching blunderbuss, which we've covered and is super dope, or a repeater pistol instead of the Outrider thing. They are fast cavalry. They are fire and flee. They are open order. They are skirmishers. They are swift stride, and they're vanguard. On an Empire Warhorse, that means they get a free 8-inch move at the start of the turn, at the start of the game. They have a 24-inch range. Mm-hmm. They're firing. So the handgun is, if I recall correctly, strength 4, -1 AP, multiple shots 3, not D3, 3, and armor bane 1. Ponderous, cumbersome, maybe.
Yeah.
Probably ponderous and cumbersome.
Yeah, both of those. But you will have already done that pre-game move and got yourself into position to start shooting turn 1, which is cool. Very cool. I like that a lot.
So these guys, they're going to be suffering that long range penalty usually. So that means that so right now they're hitting on 3s, right? So, like in this vanguarded up, they're shooting at something. If it was just right in front of them, they're hitting on 3s with however many shots, like 3 times.
Which
shots,
is going to be -1, so it'll be 4s.
-1 for multiple shots. So we're hitting on 4s. Already still doing really well. The issue is then you've probably moved.
Yep.
Later on in the game, so that's a -2 for it's either cumbersome or ponderous is an extra -1 for move and shoot. And so like these guys are really tough to move and still shoot effectively. That's really their downside, I would say.
Yes.
But if you can position them right, they are just a bucket of shots. Very, very rare amount of shooting output available to you in Outriders at 19 points a model. With fire and flee on these guys is so great. They're just they seem super cool. I do find that my lists eventually did fall out of all of my lists.
I wish they were in core. I wish they were in core.
Ooh, that's a lot to ask.
Is it from this book? I'm asking Empire players. I'm on your side. I'm asking for it. Okay, I'm begging.
It's a lot to ask, but who knows? Maybe we see an army list or something. I don't know. But yeah, core would be that'd be.
We love that. We love that. But yeah, someone has asked,
a much better way to spend your core points for sure.
Do you know what? I was just thinking a moment ago. We've really dogged on core, but we haven't really given people options. But yeah, if you're playing core, you're playing Empire, you're going to need core. You have to. So it does feel like it's archers, knights.
It is
maybe some militia. But probably archers and maybe. But it's probably archers and knights. So I just want you to know that's where to move your hobby project towards. And then with these Outriders and Pistoliers, it's Outriders, not Pistoliers, and they're at least fun.
Outriders are beyond. Outriders are good.
Yes,
they're good. But like, are they best in slot? Probably not. But they're definitely good. You are not hurting yourself because you like Outriders. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many units here. Like, if you like great swords and you just want to put them on the table, you're hurting yourself. Treat yourself better, But if you like Outriders, you would put on the table, you're not hurting yourself. It's a good unit.
Talk about not hurting yourself at all. Demigryph Knights.
Woo!
So they're 58 points a model, but they are 3 wounds each. So a better way to think about this unit is what's the math on that? It's about 19 points a wound. So they're comparable at that price point to your knights, not your inner circle
regular
knights.
Empire knights.
Yeah, they're comparable to that, but they're significantly better for a couple of reasons. They've got, like I say, 3 wounds apiece. Their toughness 4, their strength 4, their weapon skill 4. The knight themselves has got 1 attack, but the demigryph has got 3 attacks. So actually, compared to the knight that we're comparing it to, it's got a better toughness. and it has got 3 additional attacks. Those additional attacks are significantly better than the horse attack that you would get. So, which we'll talk about. Yeah, because Demigryph's got 3 attacks. 3 attacks at strength 5. Sorry.
Yes.
Strength 5. You can take halberds and lances, and then any unit. You can have a full command, magic standard, and then the important thing to know is that the Demigryph's attack profile is strength 5, AP 2 with its wicked claws. And then this is the first time you've ever watched like a deep dive video or any sort of video, constructually, like the way multi-wound models work is you can only really have like a front line that's a certain width, although obviously shout out to Andy 2D6 trying to push the boat on that. So when you have a unit of 4 Demigryph Knights, what you've really got is 12 wounds that your opponent has to kill before you're then not going to receive any attacks back. Whereas Whereas if you to do the same thing with Empire Knights, you would need to have that unit be 12 wide. So your width, so your width is reduced, and it just means that you're more likely to always be able to swing back at something. Also, they're fast. They're move 7. They've got swift stride, first charge, fear, counter charge, close order. They're just better because of how rules work.
Yes, that is exactly why they're better. and decently pointed. So
19 points of wound. It's good.
19. So literally 19 points of wound. Also, they're 2 up save, right?
Heavy armor, shields, and barding. 3 up.
So no full plate option?
No. Oh no, there is a full plate option. 5 points additional model. So yeah, you can have a 2 up armor save on these guys.
Okay, so that would get us to what, 63 points a model?
Yeah. I still think that's
21
worth it.
points. Yeah, 21 points. I mean, we're still better, probably after you've added drilled and stuff. We're doing better than the Empire core Knights. Of course, these guys aren't core, but they're certainly like light years ahead on a points per wound basis to Empire Inner Circle. Like, it's not even a question.
Not even a question.
Like it's not even. There's no competition here. Demigryph Knights over Inner Circle. Also, I don't know. People are split over whether or not they're cool. I think they're badass. I love Demigryph Knights. I think they look cool as hell. And I love having them on the table. And I'm sure this is something that you could, this is worth buffing. This is worth adding characters to. This is worth finding ways to make it work. This is something you can build a list around for sure. I do
like the idea. Also, like there are characters you can put in these as well. Like Demigryph is a mount for several different characters, which is pretty cool. So you got a bunch of ways of adding some additional combat punch, maybe adding some survivability into these units as well, if you wanted to. Like, I don't really see why there's not like a 3x2 or a 3x3 or a 3x4. You're talking like 600 points, between 600 and 700 points for a 3x4 on the board. Like, that's 3 threats that you've put on the board. Add on your core and some characters. Like, maybe it's a bit too much, but like, these are super solid. Like, and these, I would say that before we get to cavalry, this is just your star pick piece, right? In the book so far, to me.
As far as like a key, like if you want like an actual unit that's not just hiding and shooting, yes, 100%. If you want to go fight, you're gonna have to bring Demigryph Knights for sure.
Yeah, I like the idea of like, I don't think it works, but like double Griffin, what was that? 500 points, core is 500 points, and then Demigryphs like 600 points. Maybe I could fit a wizard in, and I've got 5 units I can send, but I think it's probably better just shooting. But there's a list there. It's not a good one. There's a list there.
Well, like I said, that was Jason Sparks I was mentioning before. He ran basically as much Demigryphs as he could with Knights and Core and Cannons and a Steam Tank. And I think maybe a Buffing Wizard. But, it was like sort of a full send-ish type list. And at least that looks like an army to me. Like that feels pretty good.
Yeah.
Looks good. So yeah, I support it.
All right, so now we're moving into artillery, but we'll talk about the Steam Tank. Do you want to take away and talk about the Steam Tanko?
Oh my goodness, this is a lot. We
don't have to do all of it.
Okay, well, the Steam Tank, which I've yet to get on the table personally, but oh no. Okay, here we go. All right, Steam Tank, movement 4. Strength 6, toughness 7,
Yeah.
10 wounds. I think that's
10
pretty
wounds.
traditional stat line so far, except for the movement. 265 points. So that although they are 0 to 1 per, although they're 0 to 1 per 1,000, generally speaking, in a 2,000 point game, that means you can bring 1 steam tank. So that's very on purpose. And then we've got their heavy chariot. They can be you can upgrade the dude bro in it, the engineer. You can upgrade him to either have the Hochland long rifle, a pigeon bomb for 20 points, repeater pistol 8 points. It has close order, grinding wheels, immune to psych, impact hits D6 plus 1, large targets, steam power, stomp attacks D3 plus 1. So impact hits and stomp attacks, great. Temperamental, terror, awesome, and unbreakable. One of the famous stats of it. Also, something to note: armor value 3 plus on the steam tank.
Wow. Oh, yeah, 3 plus at toughness 7. Nice.
Okay, I won't complain about it, but it used to be 1 plus. Okay, grinding wheels. Stomp attacks made by a steam tank have an armor piercing characteristic of -2. However, this rule cannot be used against models whose true type is behemoth. So basically, it gets the benefit of being a behemoth without being a behemoth, so they can't grind out with their stomp attacks against other behemoth models. In addition, unlike other chariots, this model treats low linear obstacles as open terrain rather than as impassable. That's sweet. So they're giving it the benefits of being a chariot and the benefits of being, they're removing the downsides of being a monster, which is being monster slain. Mm-hmm. And they are giving it the benefits of behemoth, which is the -2 thingamabobber. And they are also removing one of the downsides of a chariot, which is low linear obstacles are impossible to overcome. So that's pretty cool. I like that. Steam power, a steam tank cannot march. Instead, you may make a steam power roll and add the result to the model's movement characteristic. To make a steam power roll 2d6 and discard the lowest. Highest result is the result of steam power roll. If both dice roll the same result, discard either. So yes, okay. And then temperamental. If a natural 1 is rolled on either of the dice when the steam tank makes a steam power roll or charge roll, the pressure has reached dangerous levels, and if not quickly released, will cause irreparable damage. So choose one of the following so that you get to decide what happens. The crew ignores the building pressure, which inevitably finds its own release. The steam tank loses a single wound. Not bad. And free amidst billowing clouds of steam, and with an ear-splitting whistle, the pressure is released, rendering the steam tank immobile. The steam tank halts immediately, cannot move again for the remainder of this turn. However, if a natural run is rolled on both dice, the pressure is too great to be released safely. The steam tank loses a single wound and halts immediately. It cannot move again for the remainder of this turn. Hold on a second.
Basically, it's got fucking movement. Let's not get caught up in the weeds.
No, but this is important because bang. So it's like, I think they just didn't word this right. So if you roll a natural 1. Okay, so the second one replaces the first one. So basically, if you roll a 1 on either of those dice, you're going to take a wound and keep on going on with your merry day. You have 10 wounds. You're fine.
Yeah, you're fine.
However, if you do roll snake eyes, you have to take the wound and you have to stop. There you go. That's how it works.
Perfect.
You want to talk about the
gun? Yeah, it's got a gun. It's got the steam cannon, which is 24 inches, strength 8. Love that. AP 2, armor bane 2, cannon fire, cumbersome, and multiple wounds D3. And then it's got a steam gun breath weapon, which is strength 2, ward and regeneration saves can be attempted, but no armor saves are allowed, which is quite a fun little thing to shoot in addition. So it's effectively just an incredibly heavily armored cannon slash template weapon until it gets close enough, and then it might get to countercharge into an enemy, do D6 plus 1 hits, and then it just starts doing stomp attacks.
Not literal countercharge, just charge.
Yeah, do a charge. It's an artillery piece that charges you. Sort of thing. So like really, really not bad at all. Really good, but has a very specific role. And you can get several cannons for the price of, well, not several, but a few cannons for the price of this effectively just a cannon, but it's a cannon and a chariot kind of combo smashed together. So it's super cool. If you're new and playing Empire, definitely put one on the board. This is absolutely like a no-brainer for something fun to do. And then you won't regret having it on the board. It'll just sometimes be like, I didn't know what to do with this. You're like, that's fine.
Yeah. It's I couldn't agree more with your assessment there. Yeah, it's a perfectly good unit, and maybe a little overpointed for what you get, because even at 10 wounds, toughness 7, that 3-up save, you can chew through it. So it's not as tanky as the tank once was, but still, you do get a lot of good rules here, and you get something that can do some damage as well as take a punch. So this is a very useful item in the roster.
Especially it's a combination of different unit types that aren't. It's not all like dragging from the same side as it is. Like, I am 3 things together, and you're like, cool. Are you the best of the 3 things? They're like, no. Just kind of, I'm a little mishmash of stuff. But that's what Old World is really good at, because it's created a tank in a game which shouldn't have tanks, and I think that's quite clever. All right, so now we're going to talk about artillery, and I don't think this needs tons and tons of chat. You can have a cannon. The cannon is excellent. It's 125 points. It's toughness 6 with 3 wounds. You can have 3 of them. You can have engineers. You can have a pretty great shooting platform with an engineer or 2 and 3 great cannons, and you'll be having a good time. I think there's that's just the review, right?
Yeah, great cannons are fantastic. And the more artillery you bring, by the way, the more the benefits of that engineer go up, because they just make these things so much more reliable. But yeah, the great cannon, I got absolutely nothing. Probably second best cannon in the game.
Then mortars are battling for a place against a cannon, so that's a no.
Well, I mean, just to because so full disclosure, I did snowflake some mortars into my list when I was running my gunline version. Yes, and my reasoning behind that was cannons are there to try and punk wounds off of big like wounds dense, armor save dense type units. And although the mortar is it? Hold on, I gotta pull up exactly its rules. Basically, it gives you a multiple wounds option. So, like in the center, the mortar gives you. I'm there now. There we go. In the center, it's strength 6. It's AP -3, armor bade 1, multiple wounds D3.
Oh, that's good.
So it's almost a dwarf cannon, and it's hitting 33% of the times, right? Like you roll a hit, like if you have line of sight to it. So it's not bad for like going after those single unit things. And it's cheapish. It's 95 points. So if you wanted more things that can do that kind of damage, I think it can work. It also is a 5-inch blast template.
Nice.
So in the world of bigger bases and chance of being hit, a 5-inch blast template is probably close to the way a 3-inch blast template used to feel. So it actually is able to hit a fair amount of models. And then it's strength 2, yes, but it's AP -2, like outside of center. So it's not the worst. I honestly think mortars deserve a look.
Okay, that's really fair.
That's my report.
It's a good report, thanks. Next up, we got the Hellblaster Volley Gun. So this is battling it out in the rare section, also in place of the Steam Tank. Comes in at a very cheap 120 points, but if you're doing the math there, if you've only got 500 points a core, 2 Hellblaster Volley Guns and a Steam Tank, you're out by 5 points.
5 friggin' points, Rob.
It's fun. Do you want to just start making events be 2005 points?
well, we need it to be 2020 points?
Yeah, 2020 points. 2020 points.
You got it. Let's do it.
Very specific. And these are really good. The range on their gun is 24 inches, strength 5, AP 1, armor bane 2. But they have this special Hellblaster rule. Where when shooting a Hellblaster volley gun, roll 3 artillery dice before making any rolls to hit. The number of shots fired is equal to all 3 artillery dice. Obviously, also, when you have an engineer nearby, you can either re-roll these, or you could use the ballistic skill of the engineer as well.
Exactly. It's or. So if you don't need to re-roll, you can use the ballistic skill instead.
Perfect. Which means the ballistic skill on engineer is 5? 4? 5?
4.
Wow, 5 would be cool. So it's a 4. So that means he's much better. So then, if a misfire is rolled, if one misfire is rolled on the artillery dice, all shots from Hellblaster are -1 to hit. If a misfire is rolled on 2 of the artillery dice, no shots are fired, and critical fault occurred, roll immediately on the appropriate misfire table. And if you roll all 3, the dream, then all of the barrels fire simultaneously with devastating effect. The Hellblaster volley gun fires 30 shots, but it's destroyed immediately. Remove all from play. All shots from Hellblaster are fired at -1. Val, question to you. You've rolled 3 artillery dice. You've rolled 2 misfires.
You reroll for the misfire.
You reroll for the other misfire?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, for sure.
I mean, depends on what you're shooting at. Like, but I have done that, and I have stuck it, and I did turn whatever it was pointed at into a mist. Okay. So like it depends, but I would say you go for the 30 shots because it's basically it doesn't shoot, and the misfire table is black powder.
Yeah, but it's so cheap. Finally, something in this book that's 120 points for a unit that's just going to keep like pumping out shots all day potentially. So very, very cool, and you've used it very effective. Because it does have a lot of RNG, random number generator built into it. It can go cold on you at the absolute worst time. Mm-hmm. That's true. At range, obviously it's going to struggle a bit more because, the best you can do is force? Yeah.
If they're being clever and they're obscuring you with another unit, you're not on a hill. Again, that's going to make it miss a lot more. So you have to be careful with the placement, all that stuff. But as far as area denial is concerned, anything that walks into that 24 inches needs to be thinking, I could die. I could just be completely nuked off of this table. Mm-hmm. And that includes stuff that's toughness 6. If you roll big on this, you can still put through a bunch of potentially AP -3 wounds, right? So because it has weight of dice in it, you can use it against big things too. So I think it's an outstanding thing. I want to have 2 of these in all my lists, and that's why my Steam Tank has never seen an old world battlefield.
Interesting. These are very, very good. And then we got take me away for the Hellstorm rocket battery.
Oh no, but we finally said something nice 2 in a row. Do we have to end on this?
This is the last one. Do you want me to do it? Do you want me to do it?
It's garbage. It's garbage. It's hot garbage. It's not even fun garbage. But go ahead.
I think it's fun garbage. So 125 points. It is garbage. It fires
more than our friend the Hellblaster.
Yeah, it's more. It shoots 12 to 48 inches. It's strength 3 AP1 on the actual shot. The way it works, though, is Hellstorm rocket battery launches a barrage of rockets. When you shoot this weapon, work your way through the following steps. Choose a target. No line of sight is required for this weapon. Instead, choose an enemy unit that's between the minimum and maximum range to be the target and place a D3 blast templates. So it could be 3. So the central hole of each unit. Once each template has been placed, it will scatter, roll an artillery dice, and a scatter dice, and a template in turn. If the misfires roll the artillery dice, the rockets fail to launch. Once all shots on the weapon have been resolved, roll on the misfire table. If a hit is rolled on the scatter dice, use a small arrow.
Just one quick pause here, Rob, because that's roll once on the appropriate misfire table for each misfire rolled.
Yeah. Basically, the more shots you get, the more likely you are to blow up. But listen, that's, as I've learned from steadily paying attention to some nations developing a missile system, you blow some up sometimes, right?
True. Absolutely. But that means that there's definitely an upside if you hit.
Yeah, that's true. Well, okay. And then basically there's another rule that it scatters. And then when you've gone through all those steps, any model whose baselines under the template risks being hit and is not actually hit, which is probably one of the biggest problems I have with the game. The risks being hit. But you know what? It's the risks being hit versus infantry being rubbish. I'd rather infantry made a comeback and then artillery kept at risking to hit.
Fair point.
And it's strength 3 AP1. So yeah, come on, it's not necessarily the rocket of our dreams. This is not the last. This is bad. This is not what it is. But I don't have anything else to say. What do you?
So if you have an engineer nearby, I'll try and end this on a high point. So that doesn't let you reroll the D3. Okay, so the amount of shots is always going to be D3. But let's say you get your 3. You can reroll your one of the misfires. If you don't roll a misfire on the scatter, you could use the ballistic skill to reduce the scatter. So you could reduce that scatter by 4. That's all. That's not nothing.
Well, I mean, when you hit them, it'll be nothing. But yeah, I hear what you're saying.
So none of those. So choose an enemy unit is between minimum and maximum range. So yeah.
But okay. what you're better off doing is spending those 120 points on a wizard, hoping you roll Pillar of Fire, and then just run around doing far more work than this ever. That's
for sure.
Yeah. So,
but I would have because I mean, one thing is like maybe quantity is a quality all of its own. Maybe you take 3 of these, you park them. Can you, or is it limited 0 to 1? I bet you it is. All right, listen. Let's do it. No, it's limited 0 to 1 per 1,000. So you take 2 of these. You hide them behind something where they cannot be seen. Sorry, I'm yelling.
I'm ready.
Oh no. You hide them behind something. You hide it. There's an engineer back there, and you drop anywhere between 2 and 6 templates randomly all over the board.
Probably for the first turn until it blows itself up.
Right, it blows itself up. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
you forgot. And maybe takes the engineer out with it.
Could definitely happen. Actually, can it? No, I don't think that. Yeah, the war machines, when they blow up, they just kill themselves.
Sorry, I'm so used to hell cannons. Just killing my own shit all day. Right, okay. So listen, if you have listened through this review, definitely when we get to the Arcane Journal, we're starting at a place of like anywhere, anything is up. Anything is up. So the Arcane Journal is actually really exciting for Empire people, I would say.
Could go sideways.
I don't know how. It would have to have no rules in the Arcane Journal for it to be the same, but sideways.
Could go sideways. Just saying.
Okay.
Could go sideways.
All right. Well, let's hope they don't. So I'm looking forward to that for the Arcane Journal review. But yeah, if you are watching till the end of this, then it's never fun talking to people about their armies and them not really working in games. The biggest sin that maybe this book has is many of the elements aren't necessarily fun.
Mm-hmm.
You're not like, you can't build an uber unit. Like when you're trying to build like an insane unit of like Chaos Warriors with like extra hand weapons and marker corn, you're like, okay, cool. They're running around being lunatics, but like that might work. Many of the things in this just like don't have a chance to work outside of the artillery. I think that's why everyone jumped to the artillery, right? It's got like an effective potential versus some of the other things. That's what would be my takeaway. You've played some games with them. How do you feel about Empire?
Well, the other fun thing about the artillery is that it's like playing craps. Like you're shooting dice, and you have 2-ish turns to get your work done, and then after that, the enemy's on top of you and just beating the hell out of you. Which is why I think it was Jack started bringing that general on a Griffin. On Imperial Griffin, just to have like counterpunch to go and like help out once things actually did get close enough. Because if you can keep the enemy away and those Hellblasters are firing and your cannons are going, you can do a lot of damage at range. And if you have some wizards, chucking out either battle magic or lore of illusion if you just want something to stall people. So yeah, there is fun games to be had. I think the biggest sin is, and I think the same thing's true for Warriors of Chaos. To probably the biggest miss is the fact that the thing that when you close your eyes and you see, and you want to use on the table, an Empire, which would be the state troops or veteran versions of the state troops and great swords and like big bricks of cool puffy sleeved infantry marching steadfastly towards whatever horrible thing the Warhammer world is throwing at them that day. That just doesn't work. They just get pounded and you feel like you are playing without any rules because you are. So that's the feel bad. Outside of that, if you're just a gamer and you just like playing as the humans, yeah, there's play here. For like there's a puncher's chance. There's a couple of different ways to build out. Again, a heavy focus on demigryphs. Not a bad unit. Is it as efficient as a lot of things out there? No. But is it going to are you going to regret having them? Also no. So there's stuff to do. It's just that if like the thing thematically you want is an Empire army, right now, like I can't think of many matchups where it would be any fun at all.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%. You know? Yeah, my only thoughts are with the Arcane Journal coming up is the four new minis they've showed off. Oh yeah, go for it.
I know I figured it out.
What?
This is Warhammer Fantasy's Horus Heresy, right? So they've set it up so that Empire fights Empire because they're in a civil war.
Yeah.
And those games are fun.
Maybe.
So that's what you want to do if you're playing Empire. In fact, I heard of an RTT recently, which was only Empire players.
Oh,
which I thought was hilarious and awesome.
Yeah.
And now we're cooking. If you just play Empire v Empire, okay, right. Empire v Empire, though, that actually makes me a little and think, all right, well, that might be actually fun.
I mean, I've been talking about this a lot on some other shows about like the kind of oddly, and this is not an old world specific problem, but kind of the lack of content, like from a rules perspective. Like, you know, if you take Blood Bowl and its kind of existence over the course of like the non-Games Workshop times, and, you know, Old Necromunda as well as a good example, like the amount of like, you know, and then if you look at Warhammer Fantasy Battles Project, is that right? Have I said that right? You know, the ability to create additional content to put into the game was actually like a kind of a moment when Games Workshop left it. Everyone else throwing 10 cents in and adding some cool additional kit bashes, you know, like mods, and adding them onto the game, super fun. If Games Workshop can, like, or specifically the SDS team, have the scope, they have the manpower, and they have the, you know, the will, there's so much that they could do with just Empire alone. You could just have Empire versus Empire. You don't even need any of the other like armies. Absolutely, you could build loads of extra special. You know, like you're playing like whoever, Nuln, and they have their own 2 or 3 special units. You run in a Nuln Empire army, and they only get access to these. And you can Horus Heresy it. You're absolutely right. So there's actually a lot of scope. I don't want to, you know, get people all pumped up for something that probably will never happen, but there is actually a lot of chance to have that stuff happen. So it could be cool.
And that honestly could be where it's coming from, because if it's like, in all of those other lists, like in your known list, if you know your state troopers get XYZ special rules, but they cost 4 points, well, suddenly that's a problem, right? So maybe the working assumption is that like a year from now, no one's playing Grand Army Empire. They're always playing a specific, you know, chapter or whatever, or like state or region of Empire, right? So I think that's a good insight. That could be what it is. I think mostly it's this was what they started with. This was their baseline, and then once they had everything else together, they didn't circle back and tweak it and up that power level to match. And we'll see what the Arcane Journal does. But Arcane Journal, so far, I think to their credit, haven't necessarily juiced up the base power level of an army. What they've done is they've made thematic elements of an army better and more usable as a standalone thing. Yeah. So, and right now we know that Nuln, which what's going to be shooting focused, I assume, and Inner Circle Knights and like you know, Cavalry, Army of Infamy, whatever it winds up being, like those 2 things are highlighting 2 things that this list can already do. So I can't wait for that pardon me. I can't wait for that future where we see what you just described, like something that had like Reichland comes out and you know, suddenly you get, you know, much more rules and stuff that's cool for those, you know, those fifes playing and drummer boys drumming, banners flapping kind of stuff that I think we all wish we could see.
Yeah, me too. I would love to see that. Well, listen, let's know what you think of this review, at least, in the comments below. Your thoughts, your feelings, your ideas, armies you've played, games you've played with Empire, things you've done, what you've enjoyed. Do join us for other videos as well about Empire, which we will be doing. Thanks very much for watching. Thank you to everyone on the Squarebase Patreon. You guys are the best.
Yes, thank you guys.
You guys are the best, and we'll see you all soon. Loads of love. Take care. Goodbye.